Okay, so again, if you are interested in career opportunities with Gallagher Risk Management and Insurance Company, please contact Mr. Pittman. And let me just say that if you're not aware, we do have an insurance concentration. So if you are looking to expand your opportunities, please take advantage of that insurance concentration. All right, so let's get started because I am so excited for tonight's panel. I have been excited for months, for weeks, and I can barely contain myself, as you can tell. I can barely contain myself, but I'm going to contain myself for just a moment because in our dean's absence, and you know that our dean is Dr. Donald R. Andrews, in our dean's absence, we are going to hear from our MBA director and also our associate dean, Dr. Ashagre Igletu. You may know him as Dr. Ash. So I'm going to ask Dr. Ash to come up and just give greetings and a few words about tonight's program. Dr. Ash?
Good evening. Again, my name is Ash. I'm the associate dean and also the calendar programs. Because we have more than the MBA, we have the JD MBA, we will have the graduate certificate in that in. It's always my pleasure really to come to this program, which is jointly organized by Dr. Powell and Dr. Ray. I just want to tell you that the initiative is perhaps one of the best ways to teach students nowadays. This initiative is so innovative, how students can learn outside the classroom. We call it hybrid, flip class, whatever. But this is the best way. So that you can think freely, meet practitioners, and learn from their experience, which you will not find in the textbook or in the classroom. Now, this approach of teaching, which is different from the traditional way, you sit in a class every day and then you leave the class. But this one is really very important. So let's give them a round of applause to Dr. Powell and Dr. Ray. And they have made a huge difference in the learning practice and experience of students. And we want to continue this direction. To have this in the MBA program, we should also expand to the Now, today's theme is very exciting, like Dr. Ray said. I'm also excited too. Entrepreneurial mind. Most of you, I don't know how many times you read this theme and try to ask yourself if you have understood the theme before you try to understand the analysis. It's a huge and very significant topic. Developing entrepreneurial mind. Not easy. When you say entrepreneurs, we mean to say what? Those individuals who really seize all opportunities to make a difference in the life of others, while at the same time improving themselves. So you see in the TV, for example, somebody comes with a small device to make your life easy. He's an entrepreneur. Because he see how people are really struggling with something. And they come with a small device that really makes a huge difference. Even in education, you need to have that entrepreneurial mindset. You have your resource, which an entrepreneur needs, which is your time available to you. And how you are going to organize yourself, set a strategy, priority, and take the maximum advantage from education so that in the long run you benefit the world. let me really thank very sincerely the panelists who have volunteered to come and share their experience. This is one way of paying back to your alma mater, paying back to the community when you share your experience. And you as young leaders learn from each other. Young leaders learn from other leaders. So I thank the organizers and I thank the panelists. I'm sure we were all benefited. Before he left this morning for a meeting in Milwaukee, Dr. Andrews has asked me to greet you, and that you would have, if you was to choose, you would have chosen to be here this evening with the student. You know how much he likes students. But we had to go because we had to attend the conference. Again, thank you, and let's enjoy the presentation.
Thank you so much, Dr. Ash. And let me, typically we wait until the end of the program to acknowledge those who have contributed to the development, and we already are claiming the success of this particular program. But let me just kind of flip that a little bit. And I'd like to thank Dr. Ash because he's always there to support us, and even though we have taken the initiative, it's always nice to have the support and the net there that you need when you do take that initiative. So thank you, Dr. Ash. In addition, we have Ms. Banks here. Ms. Banks, would you raise your hand, please? Ms. Banks has just so graciously helped us to promote this program, and I really do thank you for that. In addition, we have our technology director, Dr. Liu. Dr. Liu, many of the students don't know you. Raise your hand. Dr. Liu is our technology director, so the tech that you see that we are utilizing today, he doesn't have to be here, but he's here, and I thank him for that. And I also would like to thank you all, because again, you've taken time to invest in yourself. And even though this panel focuses on an entrepreneurial state of mind, some of you may say, well, you know what, I was forced to come here by my professor. I get that. I was forced to come here by my professor. I don't plan on being an entrepreneur. But let me tell you something. There are strategies that you will learn that will help you to be able to move in the right direction in life. And hopefully, you will get an opportunity to also expand your network with these individuals. And let me just say something about these individuals. I'm going to introduce each one of them in just a moment. But for those of you who don't know me, let me introduce myself. My name is Dr. Melanie Howell-Ray, and I teach business communications and professional development at the undergraduate level and at the graduate level here in the College of Business. I also teach in the College of Humanities and Interdisciplinary Studies. I'm also the co-owner of Powell Docs, and you'll also meet the other co-owner of Powell Docs here tonight, because she is also on the panel. But let me just say something about this panel. When I look at students, the students in my classes, the students who I see matriculating through the hallways in the College of Business, I look at the age of our students, and I always want to, I'm teaching generational communication right now. And there are so many things that you can learn from each of the generations. But one of the things that we wanted to do for this particular panel, because it's different for the first panel, this is part 2. But one of the things that we really wanted to do for this particular panel was we wanted to get entrepreneurs, successful entrepreneurs who were closer to your age. So I am so very proud to say that this particular panel is 45 and younger. I think that deserves a round of applause, okay? If you don't think that's significant, let me tell you, it is significant. And one of our entrepreneurs on the panel, he gets the award for coming the furthest because he came from Houston, Texas today, okay, to be with who? You. And I think it's also significant that each and every one of them are Southern University graduates. So give a big round of applause for members of that formation. So we have a mix here of Gen Xers and also millennials. And again, I think that's super significant because hopefully you will be able to connect with them in a way that maybe you just don't connect with other entrepreneurs. And I hope that you will be thoughtful, considerate, and really ask very strategic questions because they are here. I have told them that, look, I need you to spill all the tea, okay? And think about the title of our program. I'm dealing with a new clicker here. But think about the title of our program, which states an entrepreneurial state of mind, building your empire when the stakes are high, your money is low, and the struggle is what? Real. Okay? Because the struggle does get real. So they are going to, and they've been through some struggles, so they're going to talk to you about their struggles, the challenges, and how they overcame them. And hopefully you will be able to utilize those lessons that aren't in the textbook, as Dr. Ash commented on earlier, in order to be able to get a full, rich, dynamic education. So again, I mentioned that this is part 2 of our Entrepreneurial State of Mind series. And I wanted to just kind of talk to you and just kind of refresh, especially for those of you who attended the first panel. But the goals of the previous program, goal number 1 was to utilize the program to educate and inform our students about entrepreneurship in a way that the textbooks just can't. So that was really the goal, the first goal of our first panel. Historically, we've had programs for students that want to rise up in the corporate ladder, but now we need to speak to those who want to build their own businesses. And you may not want to build your own business immediately after graduation, although I know many of you actually already have your own business now. But for those of you who are in the back, you can come on in. Just merge on in. Merge in. And then goal number 3 was to provide our students with an opportunity to grow their professional network by engaging with our esteemed panelists. So those were the goals of our first program. Let's look at the goals of today's program. Goal number 1 is that students will walk away with strategies that they can implement now to increase their chances for success and longevity in entrepreneurship. Goal number 2 is to mobilize our students to start working on internal issues that would impede their future success. And goal number 3 is linking education, the college experience, and practice the real world. Our students learn best through application and practice, we know that. And through this panel, the COB wants to show its students how their education and the experiences they have in school can be applied to entrepreneurship. So, we're all clear on what we're here to do today? Wonderful. And for those of you who are wondering, the sign-in sheets that you're all waiting for, put them out of your mind. I have them up here with me, and you will see them at the end. Okay? Don't worry about it. Don't even worry about it. Okay? Don't worry. All right. Let's talk about our first panelist. Her name is Ms. Kwame Atkins. She's a native of Jackson, Mississippi. She's a 1995 Southern University graduate. She has a Bachelor of Arts degree in political science. Shortly after graduating from Southern University, she realized that the only way to structure and manage her own time was to be her own boss. Kwame is currently a licensed Louisiana real estate agent, franchise owner of 4 Subway restaurants, and co-owner of S&K Atkins Inc. Kwame is married to her college sweetheart, Mr. Stan Atkins, who is also a 1995 Southern University graduate. And she didn't mention that he's also a former Southern University baseball player. So for those of the athletes who are playing baseball. And they are the proud parents of 2 children, Stan Atkins and Cameron Atkins. Kwame is a proud and active member of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated, 100 Black Women of Metropolitan Baton Rouge, Junior League of Baton Rouge, Women's Council of Baton Rouge, Greater Baton Rouge Association of Realtors. Kwame believes that there are, Kwame believes that there are no secrets to success. It is a result of preparation, hard work, and learning from our mistakes. So please give a round of applause for Ms. Kwame Atkins. Our next entrepreneur, they're not sitting in the audience of order in which they're shown here, but our next entrepreneur is Mr. Jason Hughes. Jason, please. Okay. Jason is a proud graduate of Southern University. He is the owner of Capital City Collision, which is right down here on Scenic Highway. Everybody know where that is? Okay. Capital City Collision is a full-service collision repair center with a state-of-the-art facility located in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. For nearly a decade, Jason has found many successes as an entrepreneur through his consulting firm, Hughes Consultant Group. In 2016, he recognized a need for support in North Baton Rouge and founded the nonprofit organization Project 70805 to empower, support, and increase economic and social capital in the area. And one of the things that Jason didn't mention is he is also working with a local school here in Baton Rouge to implement an automotive program so that students who are college bound and not college bound have another option for success. So please welcome Mr. Jason Hughes. I don't know if you know her, but our next panelist is Dr. Kimberly K. Powell. Dr. Powell is the co-owner of Powell Docs LLC, a marketing and communications consulting company which specializes in brand invincibility, digital marketing, board governance, crisis communications, professional coaching, and nonprofit marketing. Powell Docs is also in the final stages of trademarking certain components within the organization. Dr. Powell holds postdoctoral certifications in management and marketing. She has 10 certifications in various areas of digital marketing from notable organizations such as HubSpot, Google, and Hootsuite. She also has undergone training in Google Analytics. Dr. Powell is an associate professor of marketing here in the College of Business. She's also an alumnus of the College of Business, and she told me that she forgot to include that she graduated as student marshal of her class. Okay, I don't think she'll let me tell what year. But she holds degrees in marketing, public administration, and higher education administration, and has postdoctoral education and training in both management and marketing. She has also worked in grant management, various areas of recruitment, and performance auditing. Earlier in her career, she worked in state budgeting, policy development, planning, and the political arena. Internationally, Dr. Powell has also studied higher education and policy in Puerto Rico, San Juan, and Curaçao, and the Virgin Islands in St. Thomas. She has also studied international business negotiation and culture in China, namely Shanghai and Beijing. She has also studied global sustainability in Australia, Sydney, and the Gold Coast, and Brisbane, at both the entrepreneurial and intrapreneurial levels. Dr. Powell is a staunch believer in community service. She has served as a board member for Hope Academy and the Louisiana Assistive Technology Access Network, better known as LATAN. She served as a board member for the National Association of African American Study, or NAS, and she recently agreed to work with Saltonville High's Entrepreneurship and Incubator Program. Dr. Powell is also a member of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated. Please welcome Dr. Powell to our panel. Our next entrepreneurial panelist is Mr. Joseph Robbins, and I have to add CPA because I'm so proud. He is a 2014 graduate of the accounting program. He also has a degree in finance, so he was a dual degree major. So you can walk away with 2 degrees at one time. Okay, just wanted you to know that. He actually graduated with cum laude Latin honors, and he was the spring 2014 College of Business student marshal, chief marshal. He became a licensed CPA in 2015 at the young age of 24. Okay? Now, you all should be like, because a lot of people don't do that. Okay? That's not really common. So I just want to let you know that's not common. Okay? He is the owner and president of J. Robbins CPA LLC. He's also currently a Series 7 and Series 6 licensed financial advisor with AXA Advisors. He's a 2018 SUAF 40 under 40 inaugural cohort inductee. He was a 4-year member of the Southern University Marching Band, better known as the Human Jukebox. And he is a proud member of Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated. Please welcome Mr. Joseph B. Robbins. And our next panelist is Mr. Christopher Senegal. Christopher Senegal is a 2006 civil engineering graduate of Southern University and A&M College. He is the owner of Invictus Properties and Holdings, co-owner of Lennox Home Buyers, and a partner with E-Rail Commerce Industrial Supply Chain. After graduating, he worked with Core America and in 2015 left to be a full-time entrepreneur. He is now focused on helping others to do the same thing. He's acquired 10 years of real estate investment experience, and in September 2018, he broke ground on a 14-home construction project in Houston. It's Liberty Square Townhomes. In October 2018, he partnered and opened a railroad industrial park in Lake Charles, servicing the petrochemical industry. He is the co-owner of real estate wholesaling and flipping business. Did I get that right? Yeah. Okay, thank you. He is a native of Lake Charles, Louisiana. How many people from Lake Charles? Okay. And that makes 3. Okay. And he's a proud member of Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated. Please welcome Mr. Christopher Senegal, and he came from Houston today. Okay, let's get started. And I have questions for, let me tell you, I've talked to the panelists, and again, I told you that I have encouraged them to be completely honest. We are going to hold questions until the end, but so therefore, if you have questions, make sure that you write your questions down, because we do want you to be able to ask your questions. Don't forget them, write them down, and if there's a specific person that you're targeting your question to, make sure that you let us know that as well. Okay? Say okay. All right, okay. Just need to make sure that you all are awake. All right, so this is for all the panelists, okay? And I'd like for you all just to tell us, how did you end up in entrepreneurship or business ownership? So just kind of tell us your story. And whoever would like to start first can start first.
I'm on this end, so I'll go first. I probably don't even need the mic. I think I'm loud enough. I'm Mississippi-like. How did I start as an entrepreneur and a business owner? Wow, it would take really all day, because when I came to Southern University in 1991, I did not have being a business owner nowhere on my mind. I just knew I wanted to get away from home, Jackson, Mississippi. Didn't want to go too far from mom. Came down here, majored in political science. Actually, I came with the intention of graduating as an aerospace engineer. Didn't realize that we didn't even have that program here. so I switched to political science. I said, okay, well, I'm going to be an attorney. So got here and it's like, okay, well, I graduated in 4 years, realized, to be honest, right? Yeah. Realized my study habits were not where I needed to be in law school. So I went to grad school under public administration. And graduate degree, master's degree, decided, let me find a, well, in the process, got married and had a child. And came straight out of college, making $12 an hour. I'm like, how am I going to make it? Making $12 an hour with 2 degrees. My husband graduated in accounting over here. His first job, I mean, we were very naive. I mean, we didn't come from a family that actually had college people, you know, the college degree people. So he came out making $23,000 a year with a child. So took my first job, $12 an hour, said, okay, well, we can't make it. I'm worth way more than this. You know, I know my mindset, I know my skill. I took a job as a loan officer. My first month on the job, I made $10,000. And I was working for somebody. I made them $50,000, but I made 10. But I still thought, okay, well, bingo, I struck gold, you know. And then after a couple of months of me actually learning what I was doing, I realized that everything that this man taught me was unethical in this industry. Back then, they didn't have predatory lending law. And so I was a mortgage loan officer charging people 14% to get a home, you know, and it was just very unethical. I couldn't sleep at night. And I knew my mindset again, so I decided to open up my own mortgage company. And from there, that's my very first taste of entrepreneurship. And then I had a second child, and I thought my husband travels with his job. By then he had came up the ladder. So he was traveling, and I was kind of consider myself, I'm a single mom at home. I have a husband, but he's traveling all the time. So I had to get something a little bit more structured. And it was nothing but fate that we were riding down the street, and I ate Subway every day for lunch. And we were riding down the street one day, and I looked over at the corner of Ardenwood and Florida Boulevard, and I said, that would be a great location for a Subway. And that was Sunday after church. That Monday, I was on the phone calling Subway to see how to get a franchise started. 2 weeks later, we had all the information. 2 months later, I was in Milford, Connecticut at Subway University. And from there, the rest is history. Like I say, it was nothing but faith. So.
Thank you.
Okay, so with my particular situation, can you all hear me? Okay, with my particular situation, it really was not planned. I was just having conversations with a business. We were having casual conversations from time to time when I frequented their services. So what ended up happening was one day they contacted me and they said, you know, we would like to have you all work with our marketing area and help us with our marketing. And I said, oh, okay. And I hadn't really planned on entrepreneurship or really getting into it like that. And when the opportunity came, I just took it. I went with it, you know, and of course, and we built the business around it. And one unique thing that particular business owner told me, he said, you know, we have been propositioned by people before wanting to work with us in our marketing and other areas within our business, but we just didn't like them. We like you. So therefore, it just goes to show how your brand and how the way in which you conduct yourself and just who you are can really play a role. So it was just really happenstance. An opportunity presented itself and I went with it.
So to be honest,
Doctorate.
Be completely honest. Let me tell you something. What happens in 313 stays in 313, okay? You take the strategies and implement them outside of here. Don't take this stuff, okay?
The reason why I asked because I see my mom back there, so she can contest everything I'm saying. But to be honest with you, I started at Southern University in 2001. Chris was one of my classmates. We both kind of was in the engineering field. Got into a little bit of trouble. I had to change my major to family and consumer science because I was an entrepreneur. I was just selling the wrong things, you know. But being honest, right? So yeah,
Honest because we don't know what they sell.
exactly, right. Man, somebody needed to hear this today. Nah, but basically, I was here 5 years, Southern University. I graduated in 2006, fall 2006. I was actually arrested about a week after my graduation, in which I spent 5 years in the federal penitentiary. I came home 2011, and I didn't have an idea about what I wanted to do. I knew I was kind of in a situation where I didn't know what was going on. I had been going for so long. A lot of people had changed, things had changed. So I took it upon myself to say, hey, I think that if I work for myself at some point in life, I could be successful based upon the success that I thought I had while I was at Southern. So fast forward, 2011, I started training on how to write estimates on vehicles. And that's what got me into the field of working on cars. So I was always around them. I was writing estimates. I was taking pictures. I had a clipboard. So I did that for about 1.5 years, 2 years independently, in which I started the Hughes Consulting Group. So that was like my first company. So I could get paid because they weren't paying individuals. They were only paying companies. And so this came with the name, honestly, in the bank. Lady was like, what do you like to do? I said, like to talk to people. She's like, boom, consulting. And so she's like, what's your last name? I said, Hughes. She said, boom, Hughes Consulting, Hughes Consultant, however you want to spend it, you do your thing. So started off with that, and then started working my way through body shops and stuff. And I started going in and out of body shops. And I learned that it's a lot of money. Like, man, they make a lot of money fixing cars and doing things with automotive. So started working at a couple of shops, made my way up to managing the shop. And then Hughes Consulting Group purchased his first piece of property, which is Capital City Collision, about 4 years ago, down the street on Scenic Highway here in North Baton Rouge. And that was my first flip. But I turned it into my business because I needed a place to house my business. So it was an old abandoned warehouse, got it for relatively cheap. And I spent the whole summer and most of the fall working on it, trying to get it together. And then throughout that process, slowly started gaining interest in giving back to the community. I had a passion for it, but I didn't have the money for it. And once I started getting the money for it, it became more adamant in doing it. And that's what led into Project 7805, which is my nonprofit organization. And then through Hughes Consulting Group, we now own about 8 properties here in town. We just closed on some last week, so I say 8 now. But the main thing about it is that I did not have this idea in my head. I just told Chris that too. We were both kids up here trying to figure it out. So this wasn't planned. So I guess that answers the question. That's my story.
It's hard to follow that story. But I guess my story is a similar statistic. I was a teenage dad. I had my son when I was 16. And trying to figure out what I was trying to do after that, going to college, I didn't know. I was blessed to get a full engineering scholarship when I got here. I just had a good GPA. And, growing up, everybody said be a doctor, lawyer, engineer. I was like, engineer take 4 years. So I do the engineering thing, graduate, get out, and I'm working for the railroad. And I'm making a salary that sounded like a whole lot of money when I was 22. I was making like $65,000 a year. I was working like 110 hours a week. I was on call 24/7. And so by the time I started looking at the numbers, I was like, these union janitors make $20,000 plus overtime. If the janitor worked as many hours as I work, he made $20,000 more a year than me.
So I was like, I can doubt this. I was so green. So I ended up quitting that job because they moved me to Memphis and they were trying to move me to Canada. So I quit and I moved back to Houston, which was closer to home. I couldn't sell my house in Memphis. So I ended up having to rent it out. And that's how I got into real estate. I got into real estate on accident because I realized I had to hire a property manager. When I hired that property manager, they rented it out for $300 more than what my mortgage was. They were managing it. So I'm like, I'm making $300 a month in my sleep, right? So I'm like, okay, so now I see there's something else out here besides taking this degree and going to work with somebody else. There's ways that you can think, you can apply a plan and create income that works without you having to work. And so that completely flipped my mindset on everything about life in general. Because it's like once you start reading other things, you can leverage. Leverage just means doing a little bit of your own efforts, using a whole lot of somebody else's efforts, somebody else's knowledge, somebody else's money, all of those things. And so from there, I just started applying all that stuff. And that's really my story.
Thank you.
So my name is Joe again. I'm probably like the youngest person on the panel. So my story, I guess, isn't that long. So I guess I'll start back in high school.
Your story may not be long, but it's there.
Yeah. So honestly, really, truly, did start back in high school. I went to Scotland Dominican High School from Baton Rouge, and I was actually in the entrepreneurship business incubator at Scotland. And so my junior year, I took a course in accounting, and it was just regular bookkeeping and stuff. And I said, oh, this is cool, you know, like I could figure this out. I was always good at math. So I said, all right, well, I'm gonna go to college and I'm gonna major in accounting. People said every business, no matter what size or whatever, they need an accountant. They need somebody who is gonna, you know, at least help them manage their books and their taxes, all this different type of stuff. So I said, okay, well, I can always be employed. So I got out to Southern, majored in accounting, did a whole bunch of different things. The real aha moment came, and so I've told her this story before. My junior year, I was actually, I was marching in the band. I had a good GPA, I think it was like 3.4, 3.5, something like that. And I was presented with the opportunity to go to ExxonMobil for an internship. And they flew me out to Houston, like hotel room paid for, all this different type of stuff or whatever. And from that internship interview, I realized that I didn't know anything. I sat down in an interview, and at that point in time, I didn't have anything on my resume that really stood out. I was actually working at the Great American Cookie Company. So, you know, they were asking me about different things about how, you know, how are you going to help us? Now, I'm at Exxon, right? At Exxon headquarters in Houston, Texas. Telling them, like, yeah, man, you got to take the cookies out in like 10 minutes, and then, you know, like, so the interview actually, I was a cookie artist. Yeah, I was a shippy, making like $8 an hour. But the interview actually went so bad that the lady who I interviewed with, she actually started teaching me how to interview. So I didn't get the job, so I didn't get the internship clearly. But so I came back to Southern, and I was like, man, you know, like I felt kind of bad. I was like, I really gotta see how I can further brand myself. Like what things gonna make me stand out. So I started getting really involved in the college business through the various organizations and things like that. And they started teaching me how to speak in public, you know, interviewing, write a resume, networking, and connecting with different people. I was talking to Southern alum Chadwick Robinson, Dr. Ray knows, and he actually was in New York at JP Morgan Chase trying to work some things out for me. But at that point in time, I just wasn't prepared yet. So I didn't let it just sit on my hands. I kind of continued to move forward. And the following summer, I studied abroad in London, England. So I spent that entire summer in London, did a whole bunch of different things. But for the sake of time, I'm not going to like really get to that. But what got me really acclimated to the financial services industry was that following summer, I spent in New York City. So I was working at the Depository Trust and Clearing Corporation, which is a corporation on Wall Street. And to them, they paid me $1,000 a week, paid for my housing in Harlem. I stayed down the street from Apollo. worked in Manhattan. Like, it was a really good experience. But from there, I saw that people in New York, people in those communities, period, had a very, very, very larger knowledge on the financial services and financial literacy than what I had in Baton Rouge. So I was like, oh man, well, I can take this, I'm gonna bring it back down to Baton Rouge. I'm gonna teach my people, this is how I'm gonna impact the community and stuff like that. So when I got back to Southern, I decided, all right, I'm picking up another major in finance, because at my county, I want to pick up another major in finance. So I decided to stay an extra year. So I stayed 5 years instead of 4. Fortunately, well, for me, I was blessed to have a scholarship that paid me to go to school for 5 years. So I didn't have to accrue anymore, student loan debt. So upon graduation, I started working at a CPA firm here in Baton Rouge. And they actually started me. They started me at 47.5 salary. So, the reason why I started, because from Scotland, I knew that I wanted to get my CPA license. So I said, all right, I'm gonna go in. I'm gonna take this exam and get my CPA license, and I'm gonna work my way up the corporate ladder, become partner, and then I'm gonna do this stuff, blah blah blah, all this whatever. I absolutely hated that firm. Every single day I walked in, I was like, I hate this place. I really hate this place. So it was really a learning experience. So once I got my CPA license, I immediately started looking for positions in the financial services industry, what I really wanted to do. So I said, I went to the Merrill Lynch's and Morgan Stanley and the Edward Jones and, the big wirehouse firms and things like that. And they were, I interviewed with them. They really enjoyed me. They really liked me and stuff like that. And they said, look, we're going to start you off on salary and everything like that. But then eventually we're going to, you're going to be weaned off because this is a commission-based industry. So I was like, okay, cool. Starting salary that they were trying to start me at wasn't what I felt I was worth. So I said, no, I'm not coming on. I'm not about to lowball myself just to get on with this wirehouse firm. So a couple of months went by, about a year and a half went by. I'm still searching around looking. I came across a company called AXA Advisors, and I actually enjoyed them. They partnered me with a mentor who's really been sewing into my life. His name is Ricky Johnson, and it's been a great partnership ever since. The downside of it is that they said, yeah, we straight off full commission. So I was like, wait, hold up. Because I had just purchased a home, I had different responsibilities, had different things I wanted to do. So it really took a leap of faith for me to jump out and say, all right, this is the area I want to go into. These are the people I want to service. So from there, I still kind of fell into my other business, which is J. Robin CPA, because I have my CPA license. I said, well, I don't really want to let this go to waste. So last year, I decided to start J. Robin CPA and do tax and accounting services for my clients. So I'm kind of really like a dual professional, do financial advisory services on the asset side, and then also do my accounting and tax practice with J. Robin CPA. So that's pretty much my story and how I got
Okay. Sorry, I had to deal with some logistics. Thank you so much, panelists, because I hope that gives our audience a good background about your story, and then hopefully they can kind of, start being prepped and primed for these questions. But now I'm going to prep and prime you for some difficult questions. And the first question that I want to ask our panel, and this is for anyone who wants to answer, everyone can answer. When starting out, what financial mistakes did you make? How did you recover? And what did you learn so that they won't make those same mistakes?
Okay, is that starting? The first one was, what financial mistakes did I make? The first financial mistake I made was spending every dime that we made, all in out of control. As quick as the money was coming in, it was going out.
Been there.
So, we were young. We started our business probably about 26, so as quick as it was coming in, it was going out. We weren't thinking about 401ks. We weren't thinking about retirement. We just weren't thinking. We had multiple businesses as well, and we used to commingle. Worst thing to do out there, using one business to pay this business bills and all of that other stuff. So, I don't even think it's illegal. I mean, but what you say? When you know,
legal, but it's an account like
you learn from your mistakes. What was your second part? I'm sorry.
How did you recover? And what were the lessons that you learned?
Okay, my husband and I are in business together. So one day we just sat down and realized that what we're making out is not proportionate with what our bank account should be reading. And we just sat down and we actually have monthly budget meetings. And he's an accountant as well. My husband is an accountant. So we actually just started putting everything on paper. He started doing the spreadsheets, the QuickBooks, putting everything had to be documented wherever we went. Every dime that we spent, it had to be accounted for. And that's literally that's how we recovered.
And what did you learn so that they won't make?
I learned to be accountable for my own actions. So often we want to blame everybody else. We want to blame Jim over here for not making payroll, or but I learned to be accountable for my own actions. It is our business. If we mess it up, we're the ones who are at fault. No matter how many employees you have under you, your name is on that business. You're the one that's going to be held liable.
Thank you so much. Anyone else on the panel would like to address that? Jason?
Yeah. So, say the question one time. Three-part question.
Okay, it's a three-part question. When starting out, what financial mistakes did you make? How did you recover? And what have you learned?
So, to echo for what she was saying, the first thing that I did mistake-wise was spend a lot of money. In my case, I had spent everything that I had starting my business, so I was so in a hurry to try to get the money back out of the business that I almost ran myself out of business. It was just a lot of times, I was fortunate to have a successful business the first year. But like she said, when you go back and look at everything, you can't spend it like you make it. And then my second and this is my most important lesson, but the second thing was taxes. She didn't mention that one, but and that was a lesson that right when the customer hands you $100, it's not $100, right? So that was my second biggest lesson when I got the tax bill in the mail after the first year, and after I'm coming up all these trips, and she talking about bags and shoes and buying all this stuff, right? And you come back and realize that the money that you thought you had, you really didn't have, and you start to spend it before you get it. And then the last thing that was messed me up a lot before I started my business was when I was in college, I had debt, credit cards, just absurd things that I had that I owed. And if anybody on this panel can attest to it, is that your credit is your business's credit, right? So there's no such thing as like a credit score for your business or a credit score for yourself. You are your business's credit. So if your credit jacked up, then your business's credit is jacked up as well. So it took me about 2 years to get in a position to where I could start my business efficiently and start making money. But yeah, definitely the spending, definitely the taxes, and putting everything down on paper with a CPA was the way that I learned the hard way. But I learned that, when you're taking in money, opening up different accounts and placing money in different places, might not seem like a lot, but if the level of your business is volume, my business is volume, the numbers start to add up quickly. And so when you're looking at it on paper, when you're saying, oh yeah, well I did, $1 million this year, well you spent, half of that, and it's not really the money that you have. So definitely taxes, definitely the lending that you received before. A lot of people are adamant about getting money from investors or selling off a percent of their company by starting the business. So when you do that, you're already putting yourself in a deeper hole before you even start. So when you're making money, you're not really making money. Definitely my 2 cents.
So I'm going to add to that. I'm going to talk more on the business side because in between all of my real estate endeavors, I did start
2 other businesses. I quickly got out of those 2 businesses. The first one was a hair extension salon. Believe it or not, you know, hair extension salon. But the first lesson I learned in business, and especially franchising, is do not pay attention to the revenue numbers. Because the revenue numbers is like Jason said, that's that $1 million number. But what happens if it costs you $999,000 to make that $1 million? Right? And then all your time and effort that you put into that, you could have been staying in corporate America taking home $40,000 and been better off sleeping at night, having weekends off, having vacation, having sick days, all of that. You know, none of that. Yeah, because when you own a business, you are the business, and everybody that works for you looks to you 24/7 to fund it. So I did that, and the hair salon, it grossed about $450,000 a year. Sounds like a lot of money when you realize, until you realize the profit is only about 20% of that after paying the stylists. You have to keep reinvesting in inventory because you got to keep all of these products. You got to have all the products that match the other products. So when y'all know, if you go in there and you want a 14, 16, 18 length hair, and somebody comes in and buys all the 14s, I got to order more 14. That's the money I thought I was going to use for payroll or something else. So things like that are capital intensive. Those businesses usually carry a lot more stress because you have to manage your money a lot better. The second one was a restaurant. A restaurant seems so sexy until you realize a restaurant only has about a 10% profit margin. 10%. And if you got something there where it's like something where you gotta have fresh food every day, if somebody doesn't order that food, that's money wasted. You gotta throw it away. You gotta give people the mistake, right? You got it's all kind of things with a business like that where you have wait staff, tips. If you have a system where your staff is used to getting their tip outs every week, I'm not sure if any of y'all understand what that is, but you know, when you're in a service-based business, most of your money comes from your tips, right? So you depend on the tips. You may make $2 or $3 an hour, but you depend on those tips you paid. So in my case, what would happen was all my customers would pay with credit cards. When you pay with credit cards, it takes several days for that money to hit your bank account. Meanwhile, you got to have the cash to pay out to all your employees, or they mad at you. You can't explain to them why we're the credit cards. Like the credit card manufacturer put the cards in. So it's a lot of things like that that we aren't exposed to, we have no idea about. I would say that the lesson in all of that is get a mentor in whatever type of business you're trying to start, someone that's actually doing it, someone that can give you the ins and outs, the good, the bad, and the ugly. Otherwise, you're going to go into it with a whole lot of assumptions and you can lose a lot of money. And so the only way I got out of those businesses was to sell them. I had to sell both of them to get out of it. I sold my interest in the partnership for the restaurant, and I sold the salon to my salon manager.
Thank you.
All right, so my financial, it's like mistake probably doesn't come from the spending money side or whatever. It's more so the making money side. So for those of you who are thinking about going into service-based businesses, you know, accounting or consulting or anything like that or whatever, you really got to know your worth. You know, like I said, I do tax returns and stuff like that. I do tax returns and accounting and stuff like that. So initially starting off, I kind of didn't want to, you know, I'm not young, 26 years old, you know what I'm saying? I'm just getting in the groove and everything like that. So I kind of didn't want to, you know, like charge a whole lot of money or whatever, stuff like that. I'm trying to build clientele and stuff like that, whatever. But what I learned from that was that I was discounting myself. And like Chris said, just to pick back on what he said, you know, how I rebounded from that was getting a mentor, actually multiple mentors, you know, talking to people who are in the industry and things like that. So I'm talking to them, I'm like, yeah, look, I got volume coming in, you know, I got people coming in doing business with me and things like that, but I'm paying out, like, these are my monthly expenses and things like that, so it's not really showing a real good profit. So we sat down, they said, well, what are you charging for this? What are you charging for that? And they're like, what? This is what you charge for this? This is what you're charging? I'm like, well, yeah, you know, I don't want to really, you know, like hurt people with. So it's like, no, like providing a valuable service. You know, just speaking on the tax return in general, like if you come to me and I do your tax return, I could get you in a whole lot of trouble. I could also get you not in a whole lot of trouble. So from that, I realized, you know what I'm saying, I had to know my worth. Like I'm not that lady who everybody will get their taxes done by. You know, I got 2 degrees, I have a CPA license, I have 4 professional licenses, like, you know, so coming from that standpoint, I said, all right, well, I have to make some adjustments. And that. Now I'm not saying I started going to charge people arm and a leg or whatever to do different things, but from a service-based business standpoint, you really got to understand, the value of the service that you're providing. Like and when you set your pricing for those of you who are going in that type of industry, that's something that you definitely want to take part of. That you want to really focus on. So getting a mentor, getting somebody who's in the industry can really help you do that.
Thank you, and Joe, thank you for keeping Dr. Ray and Paula Docs out of trouble. Joe does our taxes, okay? Thank you. We appreciate that. Okay, so I'd like to address this question to Jason and Kwame specifically, but other panel members, feel free to address it if you'd like. What are some strategies and tips you would recommend to our students for acquiring the money needed to get into franchising and to buy buildings? Because that's something that both of you all have done, and we really want to, oftentimes students have a plan of what they want, but they also need to know, what did you do in order to get the money to get into franchising? What did you do to get the money to buy the building? So we want to know, where'd you get your money from?
Okay, where did the money come from? As one of the other panel members stated, you are your credit. And when we were back in the day, I don't know if they still do it now, but back in 1991 to 95, we could go in front of Harry's Hall just to get a t-shirt and get a credit card. And a book sack. So we wanted that credit card and we wanted that book sack with only a $500 limit. And we would take it to Express or wherever we wanted to go and get it. So I left out of college, I call college credit. Once we got the college credit established and done, it don't take but a few months just to get your credit back on track. But credit is everything. Credit is power. You may not have a dime in your bank account, but if you have credit, you have those 800 credit scores, it is very easy to walk in and be credit worthy, especially when you work with local banks. But our very first franchise came as far as Subway. They wouldn't lend us. Subway actually have their own company to lend money, but we could not get it because we didn't have enough business assets to come back with. So
Before you move on, explain that to
them. Our credit, business is, what do you have asset worthy? Do you have houses? Do you have, what's in your 401k? Just what is it that you have as collateral? What is your collateral? If you cannot make payments, what is it that we can come take from you to get our money back? In a nutshell, that is really what it is. So my husband and I, we decided, well, I was already a real estate agent as well. I've been a real estate agent for 20 years. But I, along with having a mortgage company. But the reason I got into actually doing real estate is because I said, what can I do to get quick money? And I decided to flip a house. So that's literally how we got the money to buy our very first Subway. We self-financed it. We bought 2 properties in Glen Oaks for $40,000, turned around, sold them for $95,000. And within 6 months, we had our money. And we've been flipping houses ever since, just to catch up, put stuff in the bank, So every Subway that we've had since, we self-financed our own business. Now, we do have a bank that if we go to and we need money, because you always have to have that a relationship. You have to build relationships with a financial institution. But by being in mortgages, being in real estate, having a husband that's an accountant, we really don't like paying the interest back that you have to, because we're in a financial situation where we don't. We'd rather finance it ourselves and pay ourselves back. So we self-invest. That's my choice.
Thank you. Jason?
So what I did, I had the opportunity to save some money up, and with the money that I saved, I was planning on buying a house, and I was actually managing a body shop, so I was making pretty good money. And the one thing I wanted to add on too about the mentorship. I always encourage people that talk to me about working for your competitor. That was a huge deal for me because it taught me what not to do. So by working for my competitor, that was like my mentorship situation. Anyway, so I was working, I saved some money up and it was to buy a house. I probably worked like 3 years. I was putting money on the side, trying to do as much as I can. I was writing estimates. I was just trying to, stack my paper up to get a down payment on the house. And the opportunity for the building came. I was like, do I want a building or do I want a house? Building or want a house? So I chose the building, and I was staying in an apartment. And I almost got put out my apartment because I couldn't afford to pay for it once I had invested all my money into my shop. But the main thing about investment and entrepreneurship is risk, and you're going to take a risk. Now, how much you want on the return is how much you're willing to risk. You ready to risk it all, like I did, and I was blessed enough to have the return come back. So be it. But credit was a big thing for me. Also, through the loan process for getting the building, I was denied twice. So I was denied once by my personal bank. I won't name the name. They came back with their arms wide after everything said, right. But I was denied, and the reason why I was denied was something that I was not familiar with, which is called debt to income, my DI. So I'm sitting across the desk. The building purchase price was $150. So I had $30K in my business account ready for the down payment. And they're telling me, no, you can't afford this building. I'm like, why can't I afford this building? So, well, Mr. Hughes, your credit score is good. You don't have a lot of assets, which she was talking about. But most importantly, your debt to income ratio is too high. So I said, well, how is that so? I said, I don't understand, what he's saying. So for those of you who stay in apartments and you don't own your home, they take your apartment note as debt, meaning that you have a place to stay and $1,500 a month, $1,000 a month, that's debt, right? And they take these good old things called tax returns. And your tax returns show how much you make. So you go around.
Show how much you file.
Right, what you file.
Not what you make.
Right, well, exactly. So, and that's true because everybody wants to go around and, everybody wants to go around and say, hey, yeah, I made $100,000. But if you only file taxes on 50, 40 CPA, then guess what? To the bank, that's all you made. They don't care about, oh, you got this, oh, you got that, oh, I got this. Right. That don't mean nothing, especially in the financial institution world of lending. So commercial lending at that. So long story short, that situation with getting denied taught me and made me understand what did I have to do to make it happen. So long story short, I approached the bank that the building was owned by, and it just so happened the building was abandoned for like 4 or 5 years, and they were ready to get it off their books. So guy called me. He said, "Hey man, you still interested in the building?" I said, "Yes." He said, "Will you get a down payment?" I said, "Absolutely." And so it was kind of a blessing in disguise because they ended up financing me for the building and gave me some money towards the improvements based upon my credit score. So I say all that to say is that having a good relationship with the bank is important. Knowing your debt to income ratio, meaning that, if you have a credit card, if you have a car loan, if you have mortgage and or rent payments, student loan payments, but they don't really frown on student loans like talking about it, as long as you're paying them, in my experience.
As long as you're paying.
As long as you're paying them. And I'm still paying good old Southern University 100 years of quality. So, yeah, right. So, right. I'm still paying for the cool that I ain't seen since I was 5. Right. Cool ain't been around since I was 5 years old. It was feeding Popeyes and ain't much missing. But on the serious though, yeah, commercial properties are a little bit harder to obtain. Debt to income ratio, tax returns, the actual capital to not only buy it, but to get it up to code I also ran into a few problems with like the light bill, $4,000 deposit on lights, get the lights cut on. So a lot of these things that you're thinking about, like he had a building with his hair salon or things like that. I ventured off into the tow trucking business. When I looked at my numbers that I spent on tow truck, I ventured off into the alignment business, brought the alignment machine. And like he's saying, you start thinking about the money that's coming in and you say, well, I can create other avenues. And sometimes those avenues aren't advantageous for you to follow up on because you think it makes money. Like, oh, I can sell hair, make money. Not the case. If you're not doing the hair, right, you're not really making the money. You're investing in a place for somebody else to make more money than you. So anyway, tax returns, debt to income ratio, the down payment, the deposit, the relationship with the bank. Also knowing a good CPA is very key because, right, shameless plug, Joe right here, the CPA. No, knowing where you need to be at for the type of financing that you're going to need. And also, when you start your business, investing everything's not such a good idea either because sometimes, like you say, he says, front money. You have to have that money to front. In my business, just to give you guys an idea, we do over $1 million in sales a year. So if you think in mind, if everyone in this room right now brought me their car to fix with no check, could I afford to fix it? Right? No, I couldn't. So the point about it is that when you're in a business that has high volume, it has inventory, it has stock, it has money that you have to float, you have to take that into consideration before you start your business. Right? We did all the marketing and stuff. I remember we ribbon cutting ceremony. People were looking at me, I was frowning at the ribbon cutting ceremony. Like, what's wrong with you? You're supposed to be happy. This is your business. And I was like, well, I can't make money yet. My paint booth's not put together. Everything looks good. Paint's fresh. And they had gumbo and jambalaya and smelling good in there. But I could not make $1. I couldn't make no money. So it's like, I'm not excited about it. But the point about it is that I didn't anticipate that. I didn't think about, oh wow, if something shifts along the way, this $10,000 that I thought I had is really $1,000 now. Oh wow. This happens and I can't open up after I've spent $300,000, and it's going to take me 2 more months to open up. You gotta understand that we are all at this table risk takers, and I know I've been up, I've been down, and I've been back up again. And part of that going down is learning why you're down and how you got there, and how you get back up. So I would just encourage everybody to say, look at your debt, be honest with yourself, look at your tax returns for sure. And, to answer the question about actually getting financed, it took me to go to an outside bank to get the trust to invest in what I was trying to do. Hope that helps.
It does. Thank you. Joe?
All right. So I'm going to chime in on a way that I actually built some finances for my practice. So as a panelist keeps saying, you definitely want to protect your credit. You want to protect your credit, you want to have good credit and stuff. And so some of you guys sitting in the stands, you might be thinking, well, I'm not even in the position to, go acquire buildings or, purchase a home or anything like that or whatever. So what could I be doing, on a small scale to kind of, build my credit up so when I get to that point, I don't have the struggles or, the denials or whatever that you guys might face. So in 2012, when I went and studied abroad, I actually got my first credit card. It had $500 in it. The only reason why I got it was because they said you had no foreign transactions. I was like, okay, cool, I can use those overseas. So it's just supposed to be for emergency purchases, but I like bought some shoes. So I don't pay it off, but yeah. But anyway, so I wasn't that aware of, once I got back, I paid the card off, whatever, it was just sitting there. So I wasn't aware of like what I had. It was an unsecured credit card. So I started reading up on it, whatever, read some articles or something. It was saying like, use your card, it can help you, build credit and stuff. So I started using my card for like little things like gas, maybe our electric bill and stuff that I knew I needed to pay for every single month. I was working, so things that I had the money to pay for, and then I would just pay on the card. Well, from that card, they started raising my credit limit. It went from 500 to like 1,000, like 1,500 to 2,000. It just started going up and up and up. So I was like, oh, well, I guess, you know, I'm become more credit worthy because they're giving me more credit to utilize. So not only that, I started actually looking into credit cards, and I started realizing that some of these cards, they offer you something called introductory rates. So many cards, they'll offer you introductory rates at 0% APR, which is 0% interest. And they'll give it to you for maybe 12 or 15 months. On top of that, many of them offering, y'all know y'all see the Quicksilver Capital One commercials with Samuel Jackson, like 1.5%. Yeah. So, you know, get the cash back. So I was like, all right, well, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna open up this credit card, and I'm gonna use that credit card, get the cash back, and then I'm gonna use that cash back. You know, I'm just build up money in that cash back, and then by the time when that introductory period is over with, I'm just gonna pay the card off, and I'm gonna keep the card open because you definitely want to make sure that you have like your credit union, the credit that you have available. You want to have a lot of it. So I did that while I was in college. So by the time I graduated, I had accumulated like 3 credit cards. 2 of them had 0 balance, and the other one I was just using, you know, periodically because I was building the cash back on. Between those 3 credit cards, I've never paid interest on any of them. So I'm on my 4th one now. So I'm still doing this process. So when I went to the bank to open up my business checking account, you know, I had the money, I was gonna open up the checking account, and they were like, hey, do you think you would be interested in a business credit card? And I was like, all right, cool. Because at that point, I was like, I'm gonna just use the money I put in the bank in order to fund my business, in order to fund my practice. So I was like, well, I got pretty good credit, so yeah, run it and see if I'm eligible for it. They ran it, and that was the highest credit limit card I ever got. On top of that, they said, yeah, with this type of card, you get 12 months, no interest. I was like, so y'all gonna give me a loan, no interest for 12 months while I build this business? Big. So I took that money, and I used it to pay for my advertising, pay for my marketing, pay for my logo, pay for like all these different types of stuff. So of course my big season is tax season. So when tax season rolled around, all that stuff that returned came back, and now it's a year later, you know, the card is charging interest now, so I paid it off. And me and Chris actually talked before we started. I'm like, all right, I need to get some big credit now. So I was able to build, you know, my credit through that, basically using other people's money, but it was just a rebalancing like my assets, you know, make them work in my favor.
Thank you so much. So you got some tea, okay? True tea. So I do have a question because one of you mentioned student loan debt. And if you look at the statistics, about 95% of our student body has received student loans, federal student loans. So I would estimate that there are some of you in this room that have student loans. So I want to ask, what are some key strategies and tips for students who aspire to start their own business, but they've racked up large amounts of student loan debt, you know, like taking more than tuition dues? But that's none of you. Okay.
So I can answer that
Thank you, Jake.
off the back. I did that in college. I had took some student loans out my freshman and sophomore year, I think, almost junior year. So I was coming up with creative ways to flip my refund check. But long story short, here we are in 2018, and I'm still paying on student loans. But like I said, the good thing about it was that when it came up in conversation, when they pull your credit history, they just want to see where you make payments. They understand, a lot of lenders understand that even probably themselves have student loan debt, but it does not account for this huge puzzle unless you're not paying. If you're not paying it, it's a bad reflection on your credit, just like anything else that you don't pay that's on your credit. But for me, student loans, just making that payment every month, it didn't really negatively affect me. I wanted to touch on him to say one thing too. Lines of credit are huge for your business. Right? Lines of credit for me have been a lifesaver, especially when it comes to those times where you have to float money or those times where you run that radio commercial and the floodgates open and everybody in Baton Rouge wants their car fixed, it helps float the money. Because for me, sometimes a payment might not be in 2 weeks. You know, be dealing with Southern, and I was towing all those cars up, it might be 3 months. Southern University, right? Alumni, right? Nah, but if you're going into a business like that requires you to deal with government contracts, city contracts, or any kind of contracts, a lot of these businesses don't pay but twice a month, net 30, net 15. So therefore, if you're attracting all of this business from these contracts or contractual things, you're going to need some type of cash flow, i.e., a line of credit to do so. And to echo what he was saying about the credit card, that's what helped me into getting it. My business does a lot of money every month with Capital One on the credit card, and I get to reap the benefit, right? Because we pay it on time. And this is going on 4 years. I have not paid $1 in interest, and we do about 50 grand a month, easy or more, on a credit card transaction. So like the cash back, you know, it's like they cut a check. I'm like, hey, no, but they do. They cut a check at the end. It's like, man, party time. But to do that, you know, it takes time. And to give you an idea, I had to give Whitney Bank $1,000 to get a $500 secured line of credit in 2011. That's how bad my credit was. So I had to give them $1,000 for them to give me $500. And I started charging like gas and food, and I was charging, paying off. After next year, they gave me my $1,000 back, and then they increased my credit to $1,000. And I went that year, 2012, charging. And then next thing you know, it's $2,500, and then it goes up from there. So, you know, keeping track of your spending. The student loan thing is not that big of a deal. It should not make a big deal.
Okay, I want to touch on the student loan thing though.
Yeah.
Because you stated that you're still paying.
Still paying.
Okay. How long do you estimate that you will be paying, if you don't mind?
I'm paying their ass the bare minimum. I'm sorry. Like that. I'm sorry.
That's okay. So let me ask you this though. So if you have hindsight,
Right.
okay, so do you think, now you're saying that you're paying the bare minimum, you
Right.
probably will pay them until death.
Right,
okay?
absolutely.
Okay, but do you think now, looking back on it, that it was worth it to take out that student loan when you really didn't have to?
Absolutely not. I definitely could have done what I was supposed to do at Scotlandville. I'm a graduate of Scotlandville too, and found my way into some type of scholarship program or some type of thing where if I did take a loan, it was only for what I needed for school. And back then, school was like $1,200 a semester, $1,100 a semester, literally. But you know, when they come through and be like, hey, we're gonna break you off $5,000, sounds a lot better. But no, so hindsight 2020, taking what you need. You know, some people are struggling, some people don't have it. Like I respect, when I go back and look at college students, I respect the biggest hustler of them all. You know, you stretch a dollar as much as you can, you lean on your friends, your classmates and everything to get by when you can get by. And you know, it's hard. A lot of people aren't fortunate enough or don't have it like that. So taking what you need is key. But like I said, I pay the bare minimum, right? But my plan is, in my 5-year plan, I say, you know what, I'm gonna take some money, save it up, I'm gonna pay what I owe. But at the end of the day, it does not pay off because, like I say, $1,200 a semester, 5 years, right? That's roughly 13, 14 grand, and I probably still owe them 20-something grand just in interest. So like, I probably paid them what it cost for me to go to school twice already, and I still owe them another time and a half, you know? So it doesn't really make any sense if you can.
Right, and it especially doesn't make sense if you're just trying to live that life.
Right, yeah.
Okay. How?
And also too, if any of you are currently working for a state agency or a hospital or some type of organization like that, you can take advantage of the Public Service Loan Forgiveness Program, which will also help to consolidate those loans and have you all paying lower payments for X amount of years. So there are some options out there. I also had a classmate who was taking advantage of a teacher loan. I do have some, right. So there are forgiveness programs that you all should research in order to defray those loan debts, those loan costs.
And for those of you who are close to graduation now and have those student loans and you're going into nonprofit to take advantage of that public service loan forgiveness program, you want to go ahead and do that quick because Betsy DeVos is trying to stop it, but they overruled her right now. Who knows? Okay, so you need to make sure that you are paying attention, and you also need to make sure that you are keeping really good records of your payments. Okay, really good records. Anybody else want to add anything to that? Okay. All right. So we've kind of talked about, my next question really dealt with what are some key strategies and tips for students who aspire to start their own business but have bad credit or no credit. And Jason, you really talked about that. And I'd like to see if there are any other panel members that have additional strategies, because Jason did really give us a really good strategy for doing that. Joe also gave a really good strategy for no credit when you're building credit. So are there any panelists that would like to even kind of chime in on that? Or if you've already chimed in, maybe you have an additional strategy. Chris?
So my story is kind of the opposite of you guys. I messed my credit up after I got into entrepreneurship. I got into flipping houses. I bought a house in a small town called Orange, Texas. And my brilliant idea was to flip it. Nobody else was flipping because I could get all the good deals. The problem is with the deal, you got to sell that deal at some point, right? So you put all this money into it, and then you got to make sure you're playing it out, right? So I got a $10,000 credit card from Lowe's with all my materials on it, paid my contractor with cash, and at the end of it, I couldn't sell the house. I couldn't even get a renter into the house. So it put me in a really bad position because I had a credit card. Now, it was not only the credit card, but they look at a high interest store credit card. It was like the worst kind to have. They like you to have a name brand credit card. Visa, MasterCard, Discover, whatever. You know, I had a store brand credit card that was maxed out. So they killed my credit score. So what I had to do to bounce back from that was something I talked about earlier, leverage. And when I say leverage, I had to work with other people that were in my industry that knew my knowledge base, that were willing to work with me and bear some of the costs, right? So front some of the money, having a contract to do some of the work, free, knowing that he would get paid on the back end. So what I say for people that have bad credit, no credit, if you want to start a business, try to get something that's kind of like service-based, right? So it doesn't take a lot of money to get started. And then try to partner with somebody that will invest in you because they have the knowledge of the same business. They understand that they're going to get a percentage of the return off that business. That's one strategy that works. The other strategy I really don't recommend is what Jason talked about not really doing is borrowing the money from somebody that has the money. Unless you really, really know what you're doing and you're really comfortable that you can pay this person back and pay them back whatever they're expecting as a return on their money, be very cautious with taking that approach.
Okay, personally, I don't really believe in overextending the credit. I think that 3 to 4 trade lines is significant for anybody to have the credit score that they need. Personally, I recommend maybe 2, 3 max credit cards. The name brand credit cards, Visa, American Express. American Express, you typically have to pay back at the end of the month. That's one that boosts your credit score drastically because you must pay it, but you do have to pay it back every month. The Visas, the MasterCard, maybe a gas card if you have to have it, but you're kind of lighted if they give you a $5,000 credit limit, but you have $4,900. You're not over it. You hadn't actually borrowed everything, but you're considered high risk. So that holds your credit score down. I also recommend, I'm a real estate agent, of course, but I always recommend having a real estate loan on your credit report. It boosts your credit score, and it gives you borrowing power as well. Plus, you're building the equity in your home. I've had to use equity out of our house to do things, and I just strongly believe and myself. I borrow from myself because I don't like the interest rate, but I do have credit cards because I know that's the only thing that's going to keep our credit score where it needs to be. If you don't have any credit, it's kind of like having no credit. So you will have to build credit. And in building credit, a lot of people say furniture notes. I don't necessarily believe in that. I only believe in getting credit who reports to the credit bureau monthly and correctly. So credit is good. Just pay your bills. Do not slip up on that student loan because your credit score can drop 60, 70 points. And good thing, he said that he hadn't had a problem, but most people are not like him with them student loans. I watch it every single day. Most people come out of college and defer those student loans month after month. Sometimes if you can get it deferred for 3-4 years, they're deferring it. And that's not increasing your credit score or helping your credit score. I'm never the person to say only pay bare minimum. I don't like debt. I know we have to have it, but I like having zero balances for if the rainy day come, I know I can just, here's a card, I can withdraw it or do what I need to do. So I'm quick to pay our stuff back off because if you're in a situation, you can't. But never try to overextend your credit. I strongly don't recommend having more than 2 credit cards. And if they give you $1,000, don't spend more than $100. And that's real talk because if you're over 20%, your credit score is being held down. So, and most people don't know that.
Now you know.
I wanted to say too, when I meant pay the minimum, I was not speaking of on credit cards, $25 here, $30 there. No, I was speaking of on just my student loan.
Which is an installment.
Yeah, exactly. So it doesn't matter. But yeah, what she was saying too, credit is only as good as what you use it for. And myself personally, I, Jason Hughes, have 1 personal credit card. Apple City Collision has 1 credit card. And Hughes Consulting Group has 1 credit card. And those do not carry balances every month. We pay it off in full. Because what we charge, we know we're going to have. So it's kind of like I use it as a checking account. But it works because you receive the report from the credit bureau to show off a successful charge and pay off. Now, if you don't pay it off 100%, you leave like maybe this. I do the cents. So like if it's 1,089 cents, I do 1,000. I leave the 89 cents, and that is going to keep going like that, right? But yeah, I didn't want y'all to be around. Oh, he's paying the minimum wage. Then you'll be up to debt in your eyeballs. You can look crazy. So no, but the bare minimum was just for the student loan, in which I worked out a deal. So we wouldn't like to negotiate. I won't pay this, I'll pay that, and then it came out to 1 solid payment that just comes out my account. So, but now the minimum payment is only just for a student loan, not credit cards. And also, like he was saying too, when we were in school, a lot of it was predatory lending, meaning that they prey on you as college kids. I remember one time I was going into Sears to buy a TV. The guy was like, "Don't spend your money. You can put it on a card." I was like, "Well, I never had a card. Let me see what we got." And then $2,500 later, I owe Sears about 40 grand. Like they 18%. So it's like that same 2,500 turns into 4,500. $5,000 exactly. Right. And it makes it sound good. Oh, you don't have to pay us for a whole year. So just be wary about that, especially when you're doing your own business. Like she said, like I'm saying too, your personal credit is your business's credit. There is no difference. Somebody said the last time, oh, well, what's business credit? Your personal credit. The business owner's credit. And in her case, if she had, her and her husband, both of their credit scores matter, right? So you got to look at it like that. So definitely pay your balances, pay on time, and try to keep your credit below the 15 to 10% mark. Meaning that if you have over all your credit, 100 grand, you shouldn't be carrying anything over a $10,000 balance.
One of the things that I've kind of, extrapolated from some of the things that you've shared with us this evening is that you all have had a unique way of creating multiple revenue streams for yourself. Seems like you started in one direction and then things just started kind of morphing out of that. So I wanted to see if you could kind of share with our students on how you created multiple revenue streams, because my students will tell you that I'm all about multiple revenue streams. And so how did you create them, and what are the advantages of them?
Multiple streams of income, I totally believe in them. I grew up watching Oprah Winfrey show, and I remember her saying, in order to be a millionaire, you have to have 7 streams of income. And she was the one that if I believe anything, I'm gonna believe what she had to say. So, you cannot go against Oprah. Harpo spelled backwards. But, and we originally started with a mortgage company. That was too structured, so I needed to find something that fit into my schedule, my kids' schedule, my husband's schedule. Started real estate. Although I worked for a company, Keller Williams, you're still self-employed. You're 100% self-employed. You determine your business. We just under another name. But I am getting ready to take my broker's test October 30th, so I will have my own broker's license. But even outside of that, we have S&K Atkins, and under S&K Atkins are our 4 Subway restaurants, S&K Development, which is our development company, and in the development company, we have 16 properties and 2 commercial buildings, and Stan Atkins Tax Service and Accounting. So that is our parent company, S&K Atkins. So that's our streams of income. And we honestly believe in making money while we sleep. Most of them, such as real estate, while we're sleeping, we're making money. While I'm here doing this right now, Subway is making money. So I've learned to work smart, not hard. But that's because I've been an entrepreneur for over 20 years. I mean, so it don't just come. The first few years, you're sinking everything into your business. Every amount of time that you have, you're just sinking it into it. But I honestly believe in multiple streams of income. And you have to take advantage of what works for you, what your passion is. It's easy to do it if you believe in it and if you have passion for it. It's not like a job at that point.
I would say the real importance of multiple streams of income to me is that whenever you have a business, it's not like a job where you go to work and you know every 2 weeks you're going to get a paycheck and you know exactly how much you're going to make. No matter what type of business you have, no matter how well it runs, there's going to be cycles where you're going to peak, you're going to have a lot of money coming in, maybe times when you have a drop for some reason, the customer just stops showing up, you don't know why. Maybe the trend changes, maybe somebody new comes in the market. Think about all the taxi cab drivers who Uber and Lyft came in. If that was their sole business, what happened to them? If you're on a chicken nugget making business and then the pink slime video comes out, y'all remember that?
Yes.
What happens to your business, right? But if you're buying real estate on the side, if you have a tax business that's really hot for 4 or 5 months after your residential taxes, you know, you're diversified. You have different ways to make money. That's the importance. Some businesses you want to have where it's, like I said, service-based because there's not a lot of overhead for that, right? So if you have a drought and you're not carrying a lot of expenses. You want some businesses that don't have brick and mortar because you don't have to pay rent or pay a lease. It's something you can do from home if you need to. But having multiple streams basically secures your personal peace of mind that I'm going to have income coming from somewhere, from one of these businesses that I can pull from to live off of. If something else is struggling, something else is not floating itself at that time.
Just to chime in too, as Ms. Atkins was saying, you want to make sure that you have streams of income coming from things that you believe in, you're passionate about, and things that you like. I mean, you know, there are people that say, "Oh, we immediately start." You know, you might graduate and get a good paying job and things like that. People say, "Oh, you should start buying real estate. You should start buying houses and things like that." But if you're not into that, I mean, you're gonna buy a property and it's just gonna sit there. If you're not a person that can take the patience or whatever, like to develop and deal with the ups and downs of the housing market, that might not be something that you should be involved with. Don't invest into a Subway if you don't like eating fresh. But for real, you really gotta invest in things that you're passionate about, things that you enjoy. Some of them might not be always positively correlated. I mean, like Chris said, you want to be diverse. So just keep those things in mind when you're talking about making multiple streams of income.
Okay, so multiple streams of income for me too. Same thing, kind of, sort of. It just started off with the body shop, and then with Hughes Consulting Group, what we did was we purchased the property, and then purchasing the property, of course, my body shop rents from Hughes Consulting Group. So then we turned into the property manager. So and I'm the property manager and owner. So it comes into like that introduced me to multiple streams of income. And then in doing so, started flipping the houses. And then when I started doing that, I started saying, hey, you know, this is actually something that I'm getting good at. I did a good job at doing my shop. I could use the same crew of people because they can turn their shop into something, we can do a house, you know, like that. And so I started doing the houses. And then with doing the houses, I found the way of rent. And so it was like, hey, you know, instead of just flipping them, let's start keeping some of them and start making money. Also, too, with the multiple streams of income, I fix cars for a living. So majority of the money that we spend when they get the wreck is front end alignments, towing services. So I went and bought a tow truck, right? I sold the tow truck only because it was not that it wasn't making any money. This is very time consuming. I wasn't the driver, right? So I had to hire a driver. And then in most cases, I was spending my capital city collision money to keep the tow truck going until we were paid for our services. So, you know, that was my idea, saying, oh, I want to do multiple streams of income. But like you said, you know, you don't want to start something just because it sounds good, or if a friend or a family member has a success story about their business sounding good and making money, and then your business is doing good, you can never, ever play the bread and butter. You know what I'm saying? Like, keep it true to where you're at with your business. And then if it makes sense, start doing other things. Or if it's something that you love to do, you know, start doing other things, because whatever your bread and butter is, that's the reason why you're there. So I always encourage the multiple streams of income. But that's how I learned. Like, it wasn't something where I said, you know what, I'm gonna start doing multiple streams of income. I just think that being in business allowed me to start seeing business for what it was, and not necessarily the industry and what it was in. So like, you know, I don't own a restaurant, but she understands business. So she can take that and do whatever she wants with it. You know, the same thing with this. It's a self-motivated, self-proclaimed business. She might have some employees, she might not. At the end of the day, if she has to hire somebody, that's something else that she takes on to make more money. Same thing with Chris. You know, he's about to put 14 families in housing, you know, and you're talking from a guy that was talking about selling hair. It's kind of a hard sell for him to sell the hair. And I'm sorry. Nah, but at the end of the day, but at the end of the day, somebody encouraged Chris to say, hey man, selling his hair is a good idea. And he thought he was so gung-ho that it was a good idea that he put his money into it, right? So at the end of the day, as an entrepreneur, you're gonna tend to want to make things work, but don't make it so hard on yourself to where you're forcing other things that you normally didn't start off doing. That makes any sense, but definitely multiple streams. Sure.
Makes perfect sense.
And one thing
Yes.
that, and when you're developing multiple streams, make sure you focus on one thing at a time. It's like,
That's what I'm getting at.
yeah,
Yes.
That's what I was saying.
yeah, get your core business off the ground, get it running, feel like it's running smoothly before you jump off and try to do something else. Because if you're dividing your time trying to start 3 things, 4 things at once, at most each one is getting 25% of the time. And nothing's going to be successful with that little bit of focus and emphasis on.
I got a good saying. Good saying for that. One of my mentors told me this: you can be great at one thing, and you can be good at several things. Which one do you want to be? Great or good?
Thank you.
Also,
I have one thing that I've noticed real quick, and I am really great at all of my stuff. Oh no, I'm just playing. I've hired
She's
people.
serious.
No,
She is.
no, I've hired people that are great at the things. But no, one thing that I have learned in the 20 years that we've been doing business is I may tell somebody, Oh, my husband and I, we have a Subway. Guess what oh, Kwame and Standout Subway. I know I can get a Subway. So everybody think that they can do what the next man is doing. Have your own thing to do it. And I think that's the biggest thing that we make, one of the largest mistakes that we make in business, because my sister over here can do this. I think I can do it and it sounds good. Oh, she's a travel agent. How are you gonna be a travel agent when you don't even like people? So or you don't like to travel, or just things like that. So I just take whatever it is that you do, and you be the best you that you can be.
Find your passion.
Yes.
And let me say this, really sit down with yourself and find out who you are and what you're good at, because from there, that'll help lead you and guide you and help you to prioritize. Because one thing I've noticed is that students are so gung-ho to run and try a lot of different things, and then nothing comes to fruition. So therefore, really understand and know who you are and what your strengths are, and look at where you want to go. Begin with the end in mind and move from there.
Thank you. I kind of want to shift a little bit and move to entrepreneurship opportunities and states in Trump climate. Touchy. So, panelists, and I'd like to start with Mr. Robbins for this, Joe. Under the Trump administration, tax laws have changed. What changes benefit small businesses, and how can our aspiring entrepreneurs take advantage of those changes now?
All right, so the tax laws, the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, the Tax Reform Act name, passed by Trump last year. It changed a lot of stuff for businesses. Most importantly, really, people got the biggest benefit are the large businesses. I don't know if you guys know. Okay, I'm trying not to get like too technical. So there are basically four or five different types of business tax structures: sole proprietorships, partnerships, S corporations, and then sole proprietorships, partnerships, and S corporations. Those are called pass-through entities. C corporations are not pass-through entities, so that means that they're taxed in themselves. So your Apples, your Googles, your Microsoft, those corporations, they're C corporations. So what that means is the business in itself is taxed, and then the money that the shareholders make, so the people who own the company, like if you buy stock or whatever and stuff, they're taxed on their personal tax return as well. Well, with the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, they reduced the corporate tax rate from 35% to 21%. So that was a 14% reduction in taxes that those large corporations aren't taking. So you see, I don't know if y'all remember at the end of the year, like these companies that were giving their employees like $1,000 bonuses and things like that, because they know going into the tax season this year, they're about to save a whole bunch of money on tax. So with the C Corps getting this big, tax deduction and stuff like that, the pass-through entities, which is the sole proprietorships, S corporations, and partnerships, they were like, well, what are we going to get in return? So because many of the small businesses are these types of organizations. So later on in the year, they passed a tax deduction act called the 199A. It's for qualified small businesses. So basically what they're doing is they're allowing business owners now to take 20% deduction in their taxable income. So let's say if you made $100,000 for the year, they're going to let you deduct 20% of that. So you're only going to be taxed on $80,000 instead of $100,000, which is a pretty good rate. So, which is pretty good for small business owners. So it is some things that come with it though. So the people who are eligible for these, like I said, are sole proprietorships, LLCs, S corporations, trust estates, real estate investors, all these different types of people. They do have thresholds though. If you're a single filer, you file taxes by yourself, and you make over $157,000 in taxable income, your deduction is reduced. So you might not get the full 20%. If you're married and you make over $350,000 in taxable income, it's also reduced. Not only that, if you make over that specified income and you are in what they call specified service-based businesses such as doctors, attorneys, accountants, actuaries, consultants, performing artists, athletes, financial services industries, trade or businesses, and all those people, you're not eligible for the 20% deduction as well. So, and then there's a whole bunch of other stuff in regards to it that I'm not gonna get into, but as far as like for like tax reform and what happened, that is probably like the biggest, one of the biggest things that came about with the tax cuts and jobs, the 20% deduction. Other things that were already in place. So when you guys go into business and you start your businesses and things like that, you have to pay something what's called self-employed tax. So for those of you guys who work and stuff like that, I know when you get your check, see the deductions for the federal income tax, the Louisiana state income tax, Social Security, and Medicare. But when you're a sole proprietor and you work for yourself, you have to pay that tax for yourself and also for yourself and your employer. So you're the employer and the employee. Now, they do give you a benefit because you do get to deduct the employer half of it when you file your tax return, but you'll have to pay that self-employment tax when you file your tax return as well. So just keep that in mind. And they also raised some other like deductions and things like that, such as the 179 deduction. They raised it from $500,000 to $1 billion. But I have to really sit down with you guys to go into detail on that different type of stuff.
What would you recommend that students who are thinking about entrepreneurship or who are about to start an entrepreneurial venture? What would you recommend that they do in order to make themselves abreast and prepare for these changes?
The best thing that you can do is organization. Keeping track of how much money you're making and how much money you're spending on the business. And as I stated earlier, you don't want to commingle your funds, your personal funds. If you're working and starting a business at the same time, like it's okay to pay yourself out of the business. It's okay to use some of your regular money, like your money that you get from your employer, to fund some of the business operations. You just have to record it. Having an adequate balance sheet, having somebody able to walk you through how your balance sheet should be prepared, your profit and loss statement, your cash flow statement, all those different types of things that you guys are probably learning about in your accounting courses, and how to adequately present them is very, very beneficial to your business. It also helps your accountant out when they're preparing the tax return at the end of the year as well. Because if you come to my office and you have a box of receipts and different stuff like that or whatever stuff, it's hard for us to see what type of deductions or what type of credits you're eligible for because you're not organized. So you definitely want to make sure that you keep a track of everything, especially in your first year. And like we continue to say, talk to somebody, talk to a professional, talk to a mentor to help guide you along the way.
That's what we pay the accountant for. It's like, how much do I owe? Okay.
I go to Mr. Robbins for my accounting needs.
Thank you.
Okay. So the Trump administration has reversed a ban on civil forfeiture. Law enforcement officials are now once again able to seize assets from suspects who haven't been convicted of any crime. The Trump administration has rescinded a President Obama effort to reduce mandatory sentences. AG Jeff Sessions has ordered that prosecutors seek the most stringent penalties possible in criminal cases. Such actions disproportionately affect people of color. In fact, the College of Business currently has students who have felony convictions and criminal records, who yet they aspire and in some situations are forced to become entrepreneurs. So what tips and strategies will you provide them?
I can definitely answer this one. I was definitely, not going to say victim, but I definitely fell under the mandatory minimum statute for mandatory minimum of 5 years because I did not cooperate, aka rat, tail, whatever. But that's what really forced me to be an entrepreneur. I was inspiring, wanted to open some daycares because my mom was a school teacher. And so, I had the money that I had from, whatever. And I was like, hey, I want to open some daycare centers. And I was like, hey, daycare centers make money. I'm a teacher. We can get some people to run it. But the reality of the situation is that with the convicted felon, you cannot be around kids in that capacity, right? And I had to get the research. So I was forced into entrepreneurship when I decided to take that on. But I wasn't afraid of it because I knew that I could hustle, right? I was just hustling the whole thing. And in that transferable skills, right? And so in that, I just had to figure out what I was wanting to transfer, over for a small fee. And in doing so, that's what led me to being, the entrepreneur car situation and everything. But to talk about that, it's a huge problem. If people had looked at my case, I had never been in trouble. I didn't have this juvenile record. I was never arrested before in my life. And I basically got charged for a crime that I did commit. Right? I was guilty of having what they said I had. However, if that situation was in a state court, I would have received probation. Because it was in the federal court, federal guidelines have minimums, mandatory minimums, and the only way to go under those guidelines is through cooperation, right? So I don't know if any of you guys have people that are in jail or loved ones that are incarcerated, but it's a very, very situation, and it's a lot. See my boy there is saying what a lot of us, African Americans, and you'll be surprised. They have a lot of guys in there. When I went, I was 22 years old, right? So I had just graduated from Southern, and I was probably like one of the youngest on my compound. And people were so fascinated to see somebody that had graduated from college, like just literally graduated, like when you graduated last week, It's like yeah, I just walked across the stage and went to the nursing building and got my own diploma. And then next week I'm looking at 4 walls, But needless to say, right, people make mistakes. People make bad decisions. I chose to be accountable 110% for my decision making, which means I received 110% of the consequences. But on the reverse side, people can be 110% accountable for their actions and receive 110% of the reward, whether that's going off and doing your thing like we all obviously are doing. You receive 100% of the benefit. But it definitely is a situation that people have to take seriously. And in any situation, whether it's a female around a male or dating a guy, he's doing whatever, you can easily get caught up in that situation and find yourself, at a crossroads, And thank God none of my girlfriends at the time with the S. Miss Ray, I used to work for Miss some background check. I used to work.
I'm gonna tell.
Oh, okay, yeah, okay. But at the end of the day, it's definitely something that's plaguing our society and people that I've been through it, right? I never thought in a million I was like that guy, like I'm way too cool to be in here, right? But just like everybody else thought, it was way too cool to get caught. But be completely joke free, it definitely was a life-changing experience for me. I definitely was forced to grow up, mature at a very, very young age. I was exposed to things that you can not even imagine, and not joking, but just being serious. And it made me out of a man really quickly. And I grew up, and I learned that the biggest thing I took away from that is having patience. I was in a choice to be patient, right? People ask me, how'd you make it in there? I was like, I kept waking up every day. Every day I kept waking up with a positive attitude. And then I stopped being in denial that I was there and started helping people. So I was teaching GED, teaching stuff and doing things, and it kind of helped the time pass by. But at the end of the day, when I look back at it and I see these laws and stuff changing, it's major because you have people that, like I said, I didn't deserve to go to jail, but I didn't deserve it for 5 years, in my opinion. And you compare it off of comparatives, and it's like, okay, you got little Johnny with the same charge, same crime, same everything, and probably with a juvenile record that gets a slap on the wrist. Then you got Jason, and it's like, 5 years. So that prison reform stuff, and I went all the way to DC with it. I went to CBC last year. Ted James, Representative Ted James, and I participated in this panel in which we spoke with the judge. His name. No, the one on TV. The one on TV, Judge Mathis. Because he's a convicted felon too.
Yes, he is.
Yeah, so he's a convicted felon too.
And a judge.
And a judge. And so Judge Mathis, I met him personally, and coolest dude ever. And he's really passionate about it too. And he understands it because he's on the opposite side, right? But in his case, he's not a federal judge, so his hands aren't tied. The ones whose hands are tied are the federal judge. So the main thing about it, don't find yourself in a situation to get in trouble, right? And then you cry about it and say, oh, well, you know, I don't deserve to be or whatever. Definitely had it coming to me, it happened, and it is what it is. But at the end of the day, you know, what's right is right and wrong is wrong. So what was going on in the 80s and the 90s might not be good for the 2000s as far as prison reform and stuff is concerned. So you made a good point about that. That's why I spoke.
And please vote.
Yes.
Please vote. Yes,
And
please
Chris,
vote.
and Chris, before you start, and I wanted to address that, Jason, I'm so happy that you're open and sharing about that experience, simply because we get students all the time that you may not know, but I know there are students that come to my office and they tell me, well, Dr. Gray, I didn't go to the career fair because I have a conviction. And I know that I'm gonna have to check that box. And every time I check that box, it's denied. So we want you to know that number one, we're aware of that. Number two, that there are other pathways. If you find yourself in that situation right now, or if you're facing that situation, it's not a death sentence. So there are other opportunities, and that's why I'm so appreciative of Jason for sharing that experience, because you get to see that it wasn't a death sentence for him.
Felt like one.
It felt like one. And and if you're in that situation, it may feel like that to you. But you're still, as long as your pulse is racing and your heart is beating and you are taking in H2O, no water, that's not water, oxygen. As long as you're taking it in, well, you can be taking water too. But as long as you're doing that, then you still need to be able to find opportunities on the other side. So I appreciate that. Chris, would you like to add something to that?
Yeah, I'm gonna add. Well, first of all, let me commend you. I don't even think you noticed, but when he got out and he like started crying. I was watching through Facebook at that point in time, like got a job. I'm like, man, there's people out here with degrees complaining about keeping my work.
Right.
This man out here doing it. He just kind of no complaints, no excuses, nothing. Just got to it. And like, I was like, this way. So we tell you, appreciate it. But what I want to tell y'all right now is what's just as important as what we're talking about is, you know, once we made a bad decision, how they kind of control the situation. What we have the opportunity to do in here, and everybody here that's thinking about being an entrepreneur, what you have a chance to do is start a business where you can hire people that do have these opportunities. I mean, that do have these circumstances in their life, right? Because they know when they check that box for somebody else, it's not from our community, they know they're not going to get that job. Whereas if you're in that position and they check that box, you have the opportunity to give them a chance, right? Number one. Number two, you have the opportunity to present a lot of them that only do that because they have no other source of income. You can't find a job. They don't have an education or whatever, or because they don't look right, they got tattoos or whatever it is, and there's any reason for them to be discriminated against. You have the opportunity to have that business that will hire them, that will prevent you from ever getting to that point, so when they have to do something, they don't have to get caught, right? So I talk about this kind of thing, but one of the side effects of integration that we don't really talk about is how many of us had businesses, and all those businesses that hired all of us, and a lot of our community was employed, changed when integration came around, because we didn't have a lot of our own businesses. We stopped supporting our own businesses and went to support a business that we thought was better. And a lot of our people lost jobs. A lot of people became drug addicted. A lot of our people became black. And what we have a chance to do now is kind of reverse that curve, right? And you guys sitting in this room, don't take it lightly. Don't think about just yourself. Don't think about I can make more money working for myself than I can working for somebody else. Think about the bigger impact that you have on the community by starting a business that can employ many people in the community, touch a lot of lives.
Thank you so much. Joe?
testimony.
Yeah, I just wanted to add in quickly. There's also tax credits if you hire people with felony convictions.
Thank you, Joe. Okay, so we're gonna shift once again, and this particular shift is the struggle with self. Okay? So according to a Forbes article by John Rampton in 2014, entrepreneurs face so much securing funding, proving the naysayers wrong, etc. Therefore, it is critical that they have an extremely strong sense of self. In the College of Business, we have found that students have a difficult time talking about themselves. They have a very limited idea of who they really are. They are not quite sure of what their skills and talents are. What strategies can you provide our students with that would help them to gain a better understanding of who they are and what their talents and skills are? That is open to anyone. Let me just repeat the question. Yes.
Can you use it in a sentence?
What strategies can you provide our students that would help them to gain a better understanding of who they are and what their talents and skills are?
I got one. So, Ms. Atkins has said writing everything down. So I was never a big person of writing things down, but you can determine and be real with yourself once you see it in front of your face, right? If you get a list of goals, maybe some short-term goals and some long-term goals, and then you start working yourself backwards on how to achieve those goals, you'll start to find yourself through that process, right? You can be real with yourself. You know, do I plan on waking up every morning at 8 o'clock in the morning, coming back home at 5? If I'm working for somebody. If I'm working for myself, am I really prepared to work 24/7? And in reality sets in, if you're not that type of person, then you start to answer some of the questions that need to be asked. But writing everything down, putting a list of goals helps you find yourself. And then I always take a reflection period. I know Chris be like, man, I see you traveling everywhere, it's to keep my sanity. I employ 7 people, a full-time job, full-time benefits, full-time salaries, full-time employee payroll taxes, and that's a responsibility in itself. In addition to my son, in addition to my private life, in addition to everything else that I have going on, I'm really naturally concerned about 7 individuals, 7 individuals' households, and what they're doing and how they're feeling. And that can become very overwhelming if you're a compassionate and caring person. You're just one of these people that just don't care or have it going. It's like, okay, well, but I have struggled many a nights sleeping, figuring out what it is. And I had to really take a step back and remove myself from everyone and reflect on myself. It's like, hey man, you looking yourself in the mirror, it's like, you cut out for this, and it's like, yeah, I can do this, or, I think I'm good at this, but then when you find yourself in situations where you really have to have that self-check, or that, am I gonna pop off on my customer because it's in me? They think they don't know no better, you know what I'm saying? Or they think that it's sweet because you sit up here with a collar shirt on that you won't, flip it on the other side. But then it's like, that's gonna ruin my business. That's gonna ruin the people who work for me. Business opportunity because I, shut your shop down, go to jail, whatever. You have all these consequences and stuff. So you find yourself reflecting on yourself, reflecting on your thoughts and your beliefs. You always self-reflect on methods and procedures that you might take because, me personally, I wasn't a people person. I hated to deal with people. See, this public speakers telling you. Now I was a real no sense kind of guy. All this money, loved women, and that was it. This is real talk, but I never imagined coming up here and speaking to you guys. Like that wasn't Jason Hughes. Jason Hughes wasn't the hey, how you doing? And I got Capital City. That wasn't me. I was more or less like, get my money, get out the way. And I think just through life and changing and stuff and self-reflecting on myself, I see a good of doing stuff that you guys can take away from this, and also building stuff in the community. That's a big deal for me. That was never me at all either. But once I say, like, come in a situation where I'm an entrepreneur and they have people out there with stories just like mine, if not worse, it's always somebody that has it worse. So you have to always humble yourself through self-reflection and say, you know what, I can't complain because somebody has it worse. I can't complain because this has been good for me. And, doing some of the things that we've done in our lifetime or throughout the course of even college, most of you guys are still in school. It's going to be a learning process that you have to kind of just look back and say, what next?
And if he does that now, you can do that now if you're not doing it.
Absolutely.
So that's the takeaway from that. It shows you what he's doing now, and the lesson for you is that if you're not doing it, then you need to start doing it. Would anybody else like to add?
Yeah, I would add, you have to step outside your comfort zone to really understand who you are. I mean, staying in the same circle, doing the same thing, the same routine day to day, every time. I mean, it gets mundane, and it's just you never really grasp your true skill set, your true traits and stuff like that. Not only that, when you step outside the comfort zone, as we've been saying all night, you gotta know when to step away from something that's not working. I mean, when I was younger, when I was in high school, I said I wanted to play basketball. I was going to be a varsity basketball point guard. I'm like 5'5", it wasn't going to work out for me. So, but anyway, I said that like stepping outside the comfort zone, like my experiences while I was in undergrad and things like that, really showed me like, oh, that's who I am. Like, this is the person I'm becoming to be. Not only that, you have to be willing to accept change. Change within yourself, change in society, change in the community. Like, you have to be willing to accept that because you're gonna grow older. Like, things that you did at 18, you're not gonna do them at 28. You're not gonna do them, the things at 28 that you're doing at 38. It's funny, a couple of weeks ago, I was speaking with my fiance, and when she was my then girlfriend, the first time she came over to my house, I cooked for her. And I'm not bashing anybody's eating habits or anything. I cooked for her and I made her a fried pork chop. I wouldn't dare put a pork chop on her plate. So I mean, and that's just me personally. But I said, I'm brutal. Like, I'm saying all that, like, you gotta be willing to accept change, and you gotta be willing to step outside your comfort zone. And when you talk about, like, being confident in yourself, you gotta wake up every morning and tell yourself, okay, like this, I'm this person, this is who I am, and I'm nobody can tell me otherwise. I mean, I tell myself I'm that guy. I'm that guy. I tell myself I'm that guy, and nobody's gonna tell me otherwise. I mean, no matter what mistake I made, no matter what downfall, no matter what disappointment that I have, and people might say it's arrogant or whatever, so like that. I don't think it's arrogant. I just think it's confident, because if you don't tell yourself that you're that person, that you're this great person, nobody else will. So, every single day, and then you gotta understand what you don't know, and the things like where you fall short at. My thing is, I say, okay, what's hindering me from excelling to the next point, and what can I do to get there, to stop that? When I was in undergrad, I didn't know how to public speak, and I didn't know how to give anybody an elevator pitch or anything like that. Every day in the morning in my room, I woke up, looked in the mirror, and like I was talking to somebody else. Like, you gotta practice those things, so they're not just gonna come overnight. So it might sound stupid, or it might sound extra or whatever, stuff like that. But I guarantee you, the extra people in the world are the ones who are making a lot of money. Those are the ones who are really the movers and shakers, the ones who are really doing the things and affecting the community and affecting change. Steve Jobs has a quote, and it said, "Here's to the crazy ones, the misfits, the unbelievers, and all these different types of people." These things is a longer quote, but you gotta have that confidence in yourself to pick yourself back up if you fail, or when you fail, because it's gonna happen. But, so that's my 2 cents.
And let me say this, you're not being arrogant simply because you can back it up. You say it and then you back it up. Arrogance is when you say it, you can't back it up. Confidence is when you can say it and you can back it up. If you're arrogant, you can back it up. Okay, so if you have to promote it and say it and you can't back it up, you're arrogant.
And I'm sorry. My last thing is that, y'all know, when we were kids, when we were like 5 years old, 4 years old, you know, they asked us, they was like, oh, what do you want to be when you grow up? Like, where do you want to be when you grow up? And our responses were, I want to be an astronaut, I want to be a firefighter, I want to be a doctor, I want to be, you know, like, I want to be a neurosurgeon, all this different type of stuff. But somewhere along the line, as we got older, people started feeding into our brains, and we started, you know, doubt started entering in, you know, all these different types of things saying, oh, you can't do this, you can't do that, whatever. But we need to get back to, you know, when we were 5 and 6 years old, you know, and saying like, man, I can do this. Like, I don't care what, you know, boundaries or what discriminatory things or what it looks like on the outside. I know that I can do this, and I will do this. You know, shoot, can I go a little further?
Go ahead.
So I'll show you guys an experience that I personally had. You know, I had in my life. So when I graduated, I started working and started studying for the CPA exam. For those of you who don't know, the CPA exam is it's 5 hours now, but it's 4. When I took it, it was 4 4-hour exams. You had to pass each exam, and you had 18 months to pass each one of the exams. So immediately after I graduated, I started working. I started studying for the exams. Took the first test, and you know, and I failed it. You know, I failed a lot too. But you know, so I took it. I was like, okay, well now I know what the exam feels like. I know what to look forward to. So I went on to the second part. Took that part. I failed that part too. So now I'm and then each exam was $250, and the study material that I bought was like $3,500. So yeah, so I was invested in this exam. So I took the second part, and I was like, all right, you know, there's 2 exams I failed. You know, I can shake back from that. Took my third part, took a third part, failed that part too. So I'm like, dang, man, $750 in the hole. Like, and these months starting to roll by. I was like, man, I gotta make some changes. I gotta change my study habits. I gotta do some things. So I was like, I'm gonna be real down with people too now. So I went in, I took that 4th part with so did what I had to do. I failed that part too. So now I'm 4 exams down, like in the hole, $1,000 in the hole, like trying to get this certification. And I'm looking at myself, I'm like, man, you graduated, you know, chief marshal, I had 3.6 GPA, like internships, all this stuff or whatever and everything like that. And yeah, dual major, you know, like all these types of things or whatever. And now doubt's entering my head. I'm like, man, well, maybe accounting not really what you're supposed to be doing because you can't pass these exams. But like Jason said, I had to do some self-reflection. In that self-reflection period, I realized that, shoot, I'm trying to get to another level now. I'm trying to get a national certification, so I got to make some changes. Whenever the change comes, you have to die to certain things. You have to die. When you guys go into entrepreneurship, you have to die to certain habits that you had. So I had to die to certain habits that I had, so I started studying harder. I went home, I worked 8 to 5, I went to the gym after that. I was in front of the computer by 7 o'clock till 11:30, 12 o'clock every single night. Monday through Friday. Saturday morning, I'm waking up studying 6 hours out the day. Sunday, I took a break off. So once I did that, I noticed that, okay, I had to make this adjustment in my study habit. This isn't like undergrad, where, you know, we got the testing. You know what I'm saying? Like, this isn't like that. So when I made those adjustments and I made those changes in my lifestyle, I came back and took that 5th test, and I passed it. I came back and took the 6th test, passed that one. Came back and took the 7th test, passed that one. And then at 24 years old, I was able to pass all 4 sections of the Certified Public Accounting exam. I was the youngest African-American male CPA at my firm at the time. I was probably the youngest in Louisiana. I probably still am. I say all that to say, I'm not using that, you know, like, that's my testimony. You know what I'm saying? I realized that in order for me to get to where I wanted to go, you know, I had to do that self-reflection and make those changes in my life. So now the other accountants, I'm always up there talking to the accounting and finance students and stuff. I'm telling them, like, hey, man, you know, you can do this. Come on, like, these are the struggles that I had. So it might not work out for you the first time. It might not work out for you the 2nd, the 3rd, and the 4th time. But you gotta keep trying. You gotta keep pressing on. And you gotta have confidence in yourself to know I can do this.
And that kind of segues me into the next question, and this will be the last question before we get questions from the students. If any of you also have any additional strategies on how to deal with naysayers, negativity, and just flat out haters. And sometimes that hater can be you yourself.
Well, I can tell you one thing. I mean, in every stage of our lives, we're supposed to get watched. I don't do the same thing now that I did in my 20s. I don't do the same thing now that I did in my 30s, and now that I'm in my mid-40s, I feel that I have matured a lot more. And I've just learned to only keep positive energy in my space. I control who I allow in my space. And when you're 20, you have all the naysayers and don't do this, don't do that. But I have never, ever, ever allowed anybody to tell me what I can or cannot do. I have a very high-strung, deep personality. And I realized that I do like being the boss, and I only want to elevate myself with people who understand where I'm coming from, understand what I'm doing, who can feed off of me, but who I can feed off the energy that they're bringing to me. And so I strongly recommend take the negative energy away from you, because they drag you. If you have friends or family members that it's just too difficult to be a friend, let them go.
Right. And you gotta understand, if people come up to you and say, "Oh man, that's too hard," or "Nah, you should be able to," you're not me, and I'm not you. So your level weight, you might be a $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 person. I'm a $1 million, $2 million type of person. So that's you. You gotta understand it. And I'm telling you, like the people, the naysayers, the haters, the people in your circle, the reason why they're doing that is because they want to keep you in that circle. So like you gotta have that self-confidence in yourself. Now, really look in the mirror and talk to yourself.
And another thing, if you hang with $20,000 a year people, I'm not saying anything is wrong with it, but you're gonna always have $20,000 a year things. I mean, it's hard to. It's the truth. If you want to travel and do all those things, you bring people along with you that you can feed off of. If you're at the top of your circle, you need to find a new friend. You need people that you can feed off of. So.
I would also say, like, the one that's a real slippery slope is the people you love, and the people that really love you, and they give you the wrong advice out of love, but they really think they're giving you good advice. Like, what if his mom would have came in and said, "Joe, you did good. Take a break, maybe take 2 or 3 years, take some time." He wouldn't have been the youngest CPA in the state, right?
Exactly.
So you got a lot of people that feel like they're giving you good advice because in their mind, it's the best advice. But you have to surround yourself by people that are where you want to be. Yes, the people that are where you want to be, because they are the only ones that have been through what you've been through. They've experienced it, and they can give you sound advice. Anybody else outside of that is guessing at what you should do for the next step to get to the next level. It's something they've never experienced with them.
And to echo what he's saying, which was he hit it right on the head. My mom, school teacher, my dad, plant worker. I can't ask them for entrepreneurial advice. My dad thought I was crazy, right? He was just like, "Oh no, this ain't gonna work out for him," right? But the best thing for him, at his time, was to work at a plant. My dad's 72 years old now. So, him growing up in Baton Rouge, from Baton Rouge, at the time, Exxon was the thing to do. For my mom, education was the thing to do. So when they have kids, naturally they're gonna encourage their kids to do the same thing that they're doing. So I couldn't allow my pops to be like, "Nah, don't spend all your money because you're gonna be broke." Or I couldn't allow my mom to be like, "No, don't do that because it's not sound. Go find you an 8 to 5. That's guaranteed." Because I wouldn't be sitting here today. But like he said, out of them loving me, they tried to encourage me to do what was good for them, not necessarily what was good for me. And on the hater standpoint, I'm a firm believer of that saying, you never see a hater at the bank or in first class. So, when you fly in first class, you don't see anybody really hating on each other. Everybody's calm and cool because there's nothing to hate on. But when you're at the bank, there's no situation for nobody hating because it's just you in the bank, right? And, you know, most people that talk negatively about you, and call themselves your friends. You know, I have a group of friends right now that I've been cool with since 8th grade, and 2 of us are entrepreneurs. And the 2 that are entrepreneurs, we're closer to each other than the other ones. And we all was in the same boat, we all did the same things, we all hung out together. But it's just that you have to find somebody that's on your level to understand and grow.
Questions? You can stay seated, but just make sure that you do state your name and major classification.
Good evening. My name is Terrence Marshall. I'm an MBA candidate concentrating in human resources. My question is for Jason. You stated that you almost ran yourself out of your business. Do you think taking a class in financing or accounting would have kept you from making a mistake that you did?
So I'm a firm believer that experience is the best teacher. So I don't think that any type of classroom setting or any type of curriculum could have prepared me for what I was getting ready to experience without experiencing it. The main thing about it that you have to take away from it is that school, in my opinion, is the perfect networking opportunity. And it also shows a possible potential employer that if taught, you can learn, right? If taught, you can progress. But for the most part, nothing that I've experienced as an entrepreneur, whether I was in business school or I was down in family consumer science or education or what have you, would have prepared me for being an entrepreneur at all. I think that that's the biggest misconception of business studies or business practices for me, right? And I'm saying that to say that, you know, Chris was in engineering. Chris is not in engineering today. He's an entrepreneur. Joe is an entrepreneur, but he's one of the few that actually finished in his field of study and still remain in the field of study. A lot of the entrepreneurs that sit up here today, did you go to business school? Political science, right? Marketing, business, right? So to say that to say, you don't, college is great, but as this world progresses, it's going to be a more need for technical experiences. And what I mean by technical is actual hands-on experiences with you guys pairing up with mentors or going to work for competitors or working with people that are in the same industry, giving the right information. Not just somebody that's done it, but just giving you the right way and trying to give you some pointers on not to make the same mistakes that we had. Genuinely, and don't want nothing from you.
To piggyback on what Jason said too, so in the age that we are in now, it's technological age, we have access to so much information that you can learn these different types of things. Like people think you have to go to just a traditional, university or take a traditional class to learn stuff. You can pick up like an online course or whatever and learn it for yourself. Being a self-taught person called autodidactic. But me myself personally, I didn't know how to really do taxes. I was in audit when I was working at my other firm. I said I wanted to learn to do taxes. So I bought a 60-hour course on taxes and learned how to do them. Then partnered up with mentors and things like that. It's not nothing I learned how to do itself. It's not nothing I learned how to do on the job. It's something I taught myself because in the climate and the age that we're in right now, so we have access to so much information. So don't discount that.
And also, the USP 210 Section 1 students will tell you that I mentioned to them today that there are a lot of MOOCs or open source, free open source courses, thousands of them in all different areas. And you can actually take those courses, get the knowledge and the skills that you need, and they are free. They don't have them here, they're online. And if you follow me on Twitter, twitter.com/SouthLADoc, I'm going to post a list to them.
And let me also say this, the digital marketing certifications that I have, the majority of them were free. So you can go on to, and I have a lot of my students taking advantage of that right now, where you can go literally on Google's site and learn online marketing fundamentals from A to Z for free. So, and then you walk away with a certification in online marketing fundamentals from Google. So therefore, it just goes to show, and that sets you apart from others as well, gives you a competitive advantage. So there's opportunities out there that extend beyond just the classroom.
That's a competitive advantage on the working in an organization side and working for yourself side as well.
Good evening. My name is Jordan Bivens. I'm a first year MBA student concentrating in entrepreneurship. And I have a question for everyone on the panel. How do I go about finding a mentor because my initial search failed?
You should have came to the mentor-mentee matchup. Mentee matchup. Who was there? Raise your hands high. You got a mentor, right? Okay, so actually what I'm going to do is I'm going to answer this question. I'm going to say talk to them after because one of them could be your mentor. Okay? Any other questions?
My name is Gentrell Oliver. I'm a JD MBA student at the Law Center. My question is more so directed toward Ms. Atkins, but feel free to chime in, anyone. In this day and age, we tend to be on the side of get rich quick, or come up fast. And so, can you talk about how long it took you to self-finance, or how long it took you to become confident in starting your own business? And then when you started your business, how long did it take you before you broke even?
Oh, that is funny. To get rich quick. So, I mean, I think I started every company that somebody came to me. Pay $350 and you'll make $15,000 a year. I tried all of that right out of school. But it really, really took. I'm still working, trying to. I'm definitely out of the red. With real estate, it don't take long because it's not a lot of overhead there. So I don't have to pay other people. With Subway, that probably took about 5 years, and we're 14 years into it. So that probably took about 5 years. And what we did, after we kept paying ourselves back, we didn't take profit from we didn't take the profit. We just paid ourselves back because by this time I've already learned what I need our bank account to read. I need zero liability, So it didn't take very long because I personally and my husband, what we made, we put back into it because we had other streams of income to pay our bills and to have fun with. So it's just strictly how you structure your life and your pattern and what you're trying to do. But the most important thing is actually putting it on paper and knowing your goal and your plan and what, the process of what you actually want.
Anyone else want to address that question?
I would say a lot of that is going to be tied to the type of business you're starting too. Because that's huge. How capital intensive your business is and how much profitability your business has. Those are two variables in that equation of break even that are going to be different for every industry and every level of service you're providing. So say you're going to do 10% of your work pro bono versus somebody who's not going to do that at all when you're a lawyer. That's going to make a big difference if you break even. You're setting up your own shop, your own office, your own administrative staff. So and I think another important part of that too is what you're taking out of your business for your personal income. Because if you can set yourself up to where you have a very low-key lifestyle and you can put more money back into paying off your debt and everything you're planning, that can save you years off your break-even.
Hello, my name is Deshauna Bradford, and I am a senior business management and marketing major. Excuse my voice, I'm a little sick. My question is for Dr. Powell. My question is, how did you utilize an IMC plan in order to further your business along?
How I I utilize an IMC plan? Well, for those of you who are not aware of what an IMC plan stands for, it stands for Integrated Marketing Communications. That's multiple ways in which to promote. So given that, one thing that I utilized, and this was really just a natural, it was something that was really just natural. It was based off of, you know, the brand that I had built for myself and my brand, and that's another thing too. You know, you all really, you know, make sure you understand branding. My branding is based on duality. It's, you know, I'm about speaking to both the head and the heart. So therefore, with that, is that I use that, and here's the thing, with securing the clients that we secured, really, it was really about just being me, just being, you know, with the credentials that I had, and then also just being able to talk to people and reach them on different levels. So really it was about, you know, just overall self-promotion. And then from there it became word of mouth. So and then of course I had the digital background as well. So therefore it encompassed those areas, for example. So that is how I use the IMC plan to brand and build and promote with my business. And also looking at positioning as well, and how I wanted to be, how I wanted to position the company, position my brand.
Kelly Johnson, first year MBA student, concentrating in finance. I actually have several questions for the whole panel, but I'll just save it for Joseph. So Joseph, quick question, in insurance finance, I'm in finance as well. Was the Series 7 challenging for you to acquire, and also do you think it's beneficial outside of doing advising if you don't want to be a broker?
So as far as challenging, I mean, because I took the CPA before that, so it wasn't as challenging as that. I can't really give a good, you know, like I passed the Series 7 on the first try, but I had used the study habits and techniques that I learned from taking the CPA exam in order to pass the Series 7. So, and then also the Series 7 was formatted differently. It's formatted differently. With the CPA, it was certain portion was multiple choice, and another portion was like simulation, where they just gave you information you had to do it. With the Series 7, everything is multiple choice. So as far as like taking it and stuff like that, I would say, you know, just do the whatever study material you're going to use, do the question bank, continue to do multiple choice questions over and over again. And as far as having it, so if you're not going to be like a broker or a commission agent, it really doesn't make sense to get it. There are certain investment vehicles and certain investments that you can't sell or promote without having it. So you really just need to, you know, sit down and see what area you want to go into the financial services industry. Because I know a lot of people are starting to get the Series 6.5 certification, but some of them are finding themselves going back and getting the Series 7 as well. So I can't really say, you know, it's not needed, because for me, I'm also a licensed life insurance agent as well. So for me, I've been able to have an edge on some of the other agents because I have it, but there are some that don't use it as well. So it's really just something.
So my name is Corinne Ridgely. I'm an MBA candidate, and I have a concentration in supply chain and finance. My question is for anybody on the panel. For a person that don't have any student loans, never took one out, and credit is good, what would you say would be a good first-time credit card to have? I know I looked up a couple of things, and they have ones where you can get points, or some where you can get cash back, and some for people that's trying to build their credit. So with that, you know, we're trying to get a first-time credit card, which one would be this?
Capital One has one called the Capital One Journey Student Credit Card. And they offer you a 0% introductory rate. I'm not like a Capital One, but that was the first card I had. They offer you a 0% introductory rate. They're actually, that card is actually for people trying to accumulate, trying to build credit and things like that. And they offer you reward points as well. So that's Oh, you really want to go for cards that do not have an annual fee as well. Because some cards have an annual fee that say you gotta pay $100 every year. If you're just starting and building credit and stuff like that, get the ones that do not have an annual fee or monthly fee.
Undergrads with a question? Undergrads.
Savaria Goodman, I'm a junior marketing major. I know you all talked about kind of the things that you need to self-preserve and center and focus on yourself. And I know entrepreneurship can be stressful. You deal with a lot of risks and like your peaks and your droughts. What are some things that keep you all motivated, especially in the beginning stages?
Keeping your eye on the prize is one of the biggest things. If any one of us up here listened when somebody told us no, then we wouldn't be sitting right here. You're gonna have a lot of self-doubt. So just keeping your eye on that prize, like what is it that, like in your wildest dreams, what is it that you aspire to be? So I'm pretty sure like Miss Atkins, she opened her first Subway. Before she opened her first Subway, she didn't have a Subway, right? And if she stopped there, she wouldn't have accumulated more Subways. So therefore, when I call it the P. Diddy mentality, where you get to a certain point to where you envision having, and she's like, oh, I never had a Subway before. This is my first Subway. I made it. You know, she would have never had the drive or determination to continue on to get others. And it's kind of like myself, when I first opened my shop, I thought it was the best thing ever. And in doing so, you become a little complacent and not understanding like where it is that you want to be. But I felt like, hey, this is just the beginning. And to some people, this is success, but for me, it's not. And it was just another day for me to say, hey, you know what? I want to keep going. I want to have 10 shops. I want to have, all these different things. But to answer your question, the easiest way is just stay focused and continue to keep your eye on the prize.
Yeah, I'm gonna add to that. Even the days you don't feel like continuing, just keep moving, keep pushing, keep putting that effort in, because those dark days are the hardest days to get through. But I mean, I'm pretty sure you've heard the analogy of like the seed in the soil, right? So you got to be buried, you got to be in the dirt, you got to be wet, you got to be cold, you got to be uncomfortable while those roots are growing, because eventually it's going to sprout and you're going to see a little bit of sunlight. It'll grow. You're gonna hit some storms and some leaves gonna get blown off. But eventually you'll grow into the tree that you're supposed to be. So my project right now with the 14 townhomes, just to give you guys a quick background, and I've had that property for 5 years. I was able to own it financially, something crazy. A whole block of property, had a grocery store, and had some houses. When I got it, I bought it thinking that I could use the existing cash flow that was on the property to carry it until the area was ready for the new construction to start. Had a grocery store on it. I was counting the grocery store to have like $3,000 a month income. When I bought it, I found out the owner was lying to me. And the owner of the grocery store was giving him credit to buy beer. So we really had zero money coming in. So I started off in the hole. One of the houses on the property, I was gonna have income from, ended up getting condemned after I bought it. So you can imagine, I had nobody to turn to really. I had no mentor to really bought a whole block on the property. But what I did was I was gonna stick it out. I was miserable for like a year and a half, but over the course of that time, I was able to turn it around, turn all the house down this year. So my project is going to be close to downtown Houston. It's the first project where every business owner that's a part of the project is Black. My builder is Black, all my mortgage company is Black, my brokers for my real estate agents are Black, and it's something that's never really been done. There's always been other people from other communities that have been playing major roles. Nothing wrong with that. But it's something that was a goal that I had. It was basically impossible until last year. For one more part, I had a 5-year plan to get it done. I had somebody who approached me last year, like January 2017, told me they can get it funded. So I went to like $40,000 of money I had saved and put it into all of this, basically what they call soft costs and development. So it's like permitting fees and design fees. Come to find out the guy couldn't do what he said he was going to do. So right now, the team I work with is a completely new team. I can start all the way over, but I have a lot of opportunities to just walk away and have peace of mind and wake up in the morning stress-free, just say I lost on that one, but I would never reach my end goal. So it's just about even when you feel like all hope is lost, just keep pushing, don't stop, because you're not a loser till you stop trying.
One last question.
Quickly. I would just add that your vision has to be larger than yourself. So if your vision stops with you, it's not big enough. Everybody across this panel, my goal, my vision is to create a firm where I can be a feeder, a funnel for accounting students to come out of the college of business and get CPA license, get security license, and all these different types of things. He's redeveloping the third world. He has a 70805 project. I don't know what Ms. Atkins and Dr. Powell have, but I know they have some great things going on in the community as well. But like I said, your vision has to be larger than yourself, because it stops at you. You're not going to continue to wake up in the morning.
My name is Latoya. Questions for Dr. Powell. One question. Okay. The question is, what positioning strategy did you utilize to bring yourself along in your career as well as professor?
Okay, positioning my attributes and benefits. It was all about building up what value can I bring? I'm sure you're familiar with that. So it was about really building up my educational background, my experiences and everything, because see, here's the thing. I was in a position where I just wanted to be that person where I was really in control of my career. I didn't want my career to control me. So therefore, I needed to get all that I could get. And what was unique about it was that I worked and hustled and got it at a young age. So therefore, I could be that person that I had this background. And this background can actually be parlayed into different areas as well. So definitely positioning based off of attributes and benefits because of the education that I acquired, experiences that I've had. I use that and leverage that in order to be able to position me.
Okay, so it's never enough time, never. And we could probably go on like another hour, but we won't. So what I wanted to do, I wanted to quickly, number one, thank our panelists. Please give them one of the things that you have to remember is that they didn't have to be here. They could have, if you had to be here. They didn't have to be here. You didn't really well, yeah. And they could have chosen to be anywhere else, but they chose to spend their evening with you. And so I think that hopefully you will get a lot of information, that you've gotten a lot from them. Let me say this too. I always emphasize the importance of networking. I also emphasize the importance of basically knowing, the people that are sitting beside you, you never know who those people are going to be. I reached out to Kwame. Kwame and I were in school together. And I have watched her over the years, and I just admire her. And, she's just a wonderful person. And I'm so thankful that you chose to be here. And when I call, every time I call on the Atkins, they're always like, yes, we're there. So hopefully that means that they also think a lot of me. And I know that it means they think a lot of you. So thank you so much. Dr. Powell, well, I know her. Jason wanted to tell the story, but I have to tell it. Jason was my student worker when I was the IT help desk manager for the Division of Information Technology here on campus. And let me tell you, when, I am so proud of Jason, and I'm really so proud of him. Simply because when Jason got in this trouble that he got in, I wrote a letter for Jason. He came to me because the judge had your lawyer asked for character letters. And I wrote a character letter for him. And I remember writing that letter and I'm thinking, I pray that this letter works simply because I see such a bright future in him. I would hate for him to have to go away. And he had to go away. He literally graduated. And the next week was in the federal pen. But look where Jason is today.
I think your letter had a typo in it.
It did.
Yeah.
Don't do that. Don't do that. But I wrote it then, I write it now, and I write it over and over again simply because Jason has done more for this community. During the flood, Jason was out rescuing people on a boat. He got a boat from somewhere and went out rescuing people. when August is coming around, Jason is giving backpacks to kids who don't have the funds to get those backpacks and those materials for school. Let me tell you something. You know, when you get, you can't just take, and he can be real bitter and say that, you know what, they took from me, they took my time, but he gives back continuously. And when you give back, you will always get. And he doesn't give back to get, he always gets. So thank you, Jason, for being here. Chris, let me tell you something. Chris and I met Chris on Facebook, okay? That's where I met Chris. And I just watched Chris. I said, you know what? He's going somewhere. And I really liked the way he presented himself. I liked what he was doing. I asked a few people, we have mutual friends. I asked a few people about him, and they always gave him good character references. Let me tell you something. Make sure that your brand is good and intact, because they gave me very good character references on Chris. This is Chris's second time. Jason and Chris were the two panelists that we pulled from the first panel. And there's no accident as to why we pulled them. So Chris came both times, came from Houston on his own dime. We don't have a penny to pay him. But he came on his own dime, his own accord, his own time. And he did that because he knew what he had to say could really impact you. And that's given back over and over and over again. So thank you, Chris, for doing that. Look, Joe, I was Academic and Strategic Initiatives Administrator here in the College of Business, and Joe just kept popping up. And this is why I tell you as students that you need to go develop relationships. Come in the front office, stop by, speak, come have a seat, talk, ask questions, find out information about events we were having, come back and ask questions. Then I started pulling him because he just kept popping up. I said, you know what, let me put him to work. So I started putting him to work here in the College of Business. And then I guess Joe somewhere along the line said, well, you know what, Dr. Ray keeps putting me to work, I'm gonna put her to work too. So then he kept coming back to me for letters of recommendation. I don't write letters of recommendation for many people because I'm not gonna put behind my name, which is a good name, behind people who don't have a good name themselves. Joe had a good name and he had established good credit with me. And I think everything I wrote a letter for you now, I wasn't that successful with Jason. Yes, okay. But maybe I got a little better dealing with Joe. Because Joe, I think every time I wrote a letter for you, Joe was coming back telling me, I got it. Is that correct, Joe? Yes, that's correct. And what Joe didn't know, and this is why, again, it pays to network and it pays to have a good name and a good brand, a good standing with people. Because he talked about talking with Chad Robertson in New York when Joe was trying to get an intern. What Joe didn't know at the time was that he talked to Chad and then Chad doubled back and called me. And then he asked me, he said, look, I just talked to this dude named Joe. You know somebody named Joe? I said, Joe works? He was like, yeah. I said, yeah, I know him. And he said, well, tell me something about him because, you know, I'm busy and I don't have time to put my neck out for anybody that's going to, you know, be a shim-shammer. I said, no shim-shammer there. And I talked about Joe, that Chad was like, okay, Dr. Ray, I got it. I'm going to call him. And so that's why it pays for you to network work, talk to people, establish relationships. And one of the things that I just want to close this with, because, and hopefully it gives you some strength, and it's called The Man in the Arena, and it's by Theodore Roosevelt, and it says, it's not the critic who counts, not the man who points out how the strong man stumbles, or where the doer of deeds could have done them better. The credit belongs to the man who is actually in the arena, whose face is marred by dust and sweat and blood, who strives valiantly, who errs, who comes short again and again, who spends himself in a worthy cause, who at the best knows in the end the triumph of high achievement, and who at the worst, if he fails, at least fails while daring greatly, so that his place shall never be with those cold and timid souls who neither know victory nor defeat. These are the men and the women in the arena. And what they have done is share with you their strategies for making it through and being victorious in the arena. Does it come with hardships? Yes. Does it come with some failure along the way? Yes. Will they meet failure again? Maybe. But do they know that they have the resilience within to overcome it? Definitely. And if you don't take anything away from this panel tonight, which you should take a lot, hopefully you wrote some things down, take that with you. Have a wonderful night. And let me say this before you start moving. If you have some paperwork to deal with, want to deal with it right over here. Panelists, I do have a gift for you, so please don't leave without getting your little token of appreciation. Thank you.